mustache, baby.
Yep, sorry.
Snapping frames, chasing light, shadows dance, day to night, lens sharp, soul in sight, the camera whispers, hold it tight.
Crank it, boss.
Click, click, moments freeze, time captured in the breeze. Yeah. The camera light, the flash ignites, frame the world, see it right. The camera light, you're the light. Yeah.
It's growing on me. Certainly growing on me.
It's not the worst AI song that you've ever heard.
No, Glenn Lavender's is pretty bad.
This is probably the worst.
It is probably the worst. But good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Camera Light Podcast. This is episode 135. It's the 20th November, and it's bright and early here in the studio. So we are joined today by a special guest, Lucas Packett, who is predominantly a live music photographer. Recommended to us by our good friend Shane Henderson. Wookie, he's in the chat. G'day, Shane.
Hey, Shane.
But Lucas also dabbled, well, more than dabbles. Dabbles is probably an inappropriate word to use, but he shoots a lot of other genres, which we're going to unpack as we head down the podcast route. Now I'm just rambling. I don't know what I'm saying. But g'day, Lucas.
G'day, guys. How you doing? Good to be here.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, morning, Justin. How are you?
I'm good. I got my coffee. It's not raining here.
No.
Apparently it is. It's a little
Has everyone got their beverage?
Yes.
Here's cheers to coffee.
I have my Melways cup.
Oh,
Actually,
old school. That's classic.
Elena actually prepares me 2 in travel cups because the podcast is so long. So
we don't have PAs, so
I'm good to go.
Yeah. But look, we are going to dive in and unravel your entire story, all the dirty goss, all the skeletons.
Wow.
Yeah, it's that sort of podcast.
Excellent.
But before we do, Lucas, could you just give us like a brief 60-second version of who you are and what you're known for?
Well, I think I classify myself as a documentary photographer. All I want to do is documenting what's happening around us, which I think is probably all photographers, to be honest. But that's what I do. Live music, photojournalism, commercial work, some editorial work, and some artistic work, for want of a better term.
It's quite greedy of you.
It is very greedy.
With one, at most 2 genres. But, you've got a whole collection going. That's amazing.
Yep.
Well, look, we are going to roll back the clock, but before we do, Justin, do you want to say good morning to the good people watching live with us?
I do. I like this one. This is photos by Carl with an F. Hi from tall Carlos Croydon. Does that make sense to you, Lucas? It
does. Tall Carlos from Croydon is a good friend of mine. He's my neighbour.
Oh, that's awesome.
And a photographer as well.
Well, thanks, Photos by Carl. Good to have you here. We've got Paul in the chat who says, hello.
Hey, Paul.
Felicity Johnson. Good morning. Thanks for my new Lucky Straps t-shirt. Oh, nice. Yeah, I hope you're enjoying it. I'm actually wearing a Cube t-shirt this morning. Check this out. We need to get something like this.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. We need a megapixel t-shirt. We need to get a cartoon figure of
with a bit of a graphic. I need to get onto Chris, our friend Chris Benny, sent us down these t-shirts and they are awesome. Yeah. David Mascaro from San Francisco. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is over there. Rodney Nicholson, good to see you. Wookie, of course.
Hey, Shane.
Hey, Shane.
Philip Johnson, the one and only, and Lucinda, another live music photographer, Lucinda Goodwin. Hey, gang, what's up?
Hey, kiddo. Good to have you.
Yeah, everyone's
welcome,
here.
Everybody.
Ready to party.
We do.
Cool.
We are ready to party. Just before we get started with today's interview, just a reminder that today's podcast is proudly brought to you by Lucky Straps.
That's
we
right.
Make premium handcrafted leather camera straps, and we have a whole range. And is the sale still on, Justin, or is the sale? Have we missed the sale?
1 hour, 50 minutes, and 1 hour and 50 minutes.
1 hour and 50
1
minutes.
hour and 49:57. It's just counting down. It keeps going.
Yeah,
It will end about the time this podcast ends. The sale will be done. I probably should have thought that through. But you can do 2 screens if you're listening to this. You could buy something. It's fine.
Yeah.
And otherwise, if you're listening to this in the future and our sale's over, you can always save 15% off with code Greg. So that works.
You can. I have my own discount code. I feel very privileged. But yeah, make sure you also like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. And tickle the bell icon so that way you get notifications of every upcoming live Camera Life podcast episode. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. So Lucas, thanks for joining us today. We're really keen to unpack your story. You know, as we've mentioned, we've had Shane Henderson on the podcast in the early days of me joining the podcast. We've obviously had Lucinda Goodwin with us. Both amazing live music and venue photographers.
Great photographers.
You know who we had, Greg, who I don't think he does much of it anymore, but this was before Greg. This was in the BG era of the podcast, was a guy called Jay Collier, who was another Melbourne music photographer. And I think in his, not so much anymore, but he's, got shots of Metallica and all that sort of stuff. So we've had quite a few music photographers on that have done some big things. So it's very exciting. It's always cool. You know what's bad? It's like the first thing you do is you go on their website and you just look for famous people and you're like, you should be looking for like the best photos, but you're kind of like, whoa, they've shot some big people. Yeah. And I did that with you as well, Lucas. I was like, oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
We certainly will check out your website and your Instagram a little later on. Now, of course, live music isn't your only genre. You, as I mentioned earlier, you also shoot photojournalism. You do a bit of documentary work. You're working on a project about motion in image. You do portraits, corporate. You do a whole bunch of stuff. But before we get to those separate genres, I want to find out, where did this all start for you? So when did that interest in photography or documenting the world around you, when did that first kind of come to life?
I was thinking about this before I came on, and my earliest memory is when I bought my first camera, which was a Hanimex 110. You know, those little...
we were talking about these last week.
Really?
I had, my nan gave me one. Yep.
Yeah. I think my grandfather was involved because he was a keen photographer.
Yep.
I went down to the local toy store, I think it was, and either he bought it or I bought it. I can't remember, but it was a red Hanimex 110 camera. Yeah, the long one, and they have the cartridge 110 films.
Yeah,
the neg's about as big as your thumbnail, and I still have it. It sits on my other studio wall.
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
It's I haven't used it for a long time, but I think I can't remember what inspired me to buy that, but I remember getting it and just going and fell in love with photography. I remember from that point on, and it's been one of the constants throughout my life has been photography and the love of the still image. And always had a camera with me. You know, obviously that was back in the film days because I'm an old guy, and I grew up as a teenager. All my mates were skateboarders, and I tried to skateboard, but I wasn't very good at it. So I took photos, and I graduated to another little Kodak point and shoot, a blue, which I still have as well, a little blue Kodak 35mm point and shoot. Built-in flash, all that sort of stuff, all plastic, everything, plastic lens, plastic body, plastic everything, and started photographing them skateboarding. And then those were the days, sort of in the 80s, when you'd have famous skateboarders just come from America or from Europe and just visit and do these. I don't know, they just came. I don't know what they were doing, but they were great and they were good. And there'd be heaps of people, and you'd go down to the local half pipe and you'd photograph. I would photograph them, and no one. It was back in the day when no one really worried too much about photographers, or not that I can remember anyway. And then capturing those images and just going, oh, actually, I like doing this. I think I've got some okay images. Everyone seemed to like them, and people were asking for shots and enlargements, just your friends and that sort of thing. And really grew from there. And I grew up in the country, so there was limited resources. There was one place in town that would process the film, and you have to save up for a roll and get it processed, all that sort of stuff. And then I learnt how to take a photograph and learnt how to compose stuff. I think, which was really, really important. And that was and became an instinctual thing. I think just learning how to compose stuff, and then other people would take a photo and they'd be and they'd go, oh, how do you do that? And I'm going, I don't know. You just do it. It was an instinctual thing. I'm a really bad teacher because of that fact. Because someone asks you how do you do it, and I go, well, you just do it. So trying to teach it is hard. I graduated high school, went on to university at Monash University, and thought, okay, what am I going to do here? So you do an arts course when you don't know what you're going to do. And that was all I was really good at anyway. I wasn't good at academics or any of that sort of stuff. It was always the art classes, graphics classes, woodwork classes. Went into Monash University there and majored in photography there. And that was a really pivotal time for me, just learning the craft there. Had a really fantastic lecturer there called Susan Purdy, who was still is an awesome photographer. And she did a lot of stuff that was out of focus, for want of a better term, which seems like a really strange thing to come and talk about on a camera podcast. And I was fascinated by that. And
no, it's okay. Most of Justin's shots are out of focus. So
that's not. Hey, you're the Fujifilm shooter.
Hey, we get there eventually. Sorry, what was that? Your lecturer's name that you talked about, Susan
Purdy.
Yeah,
Susan Purdy. Yeah, she's a great photographer. She exhibits semi-regularly here and around town and around the city and state. So she was really influential in that end of things. So I took a lot from what she did. So she taught us a lot about just the mechanics of cameras, I guess the tech side, but more the compositional side there as well, just really pushing us into our own imagery, learning how to use the darkroom well, a lost art, I guess, these days as well. And that was a real eye-opener. And just that whole thing of going and shooting a roll of film, not knowing if you'd got anything at all or anything decent, then coming back and just going into the darkroom and processing it and seeing the stuff appear before your eyes. And
I think that end-to-end, sorry, Lucas, that end-to-end process is so unique in film. Like you, I went to an art college after I finished high school to do like a folio preparation, and photography was my favorite subject. We did everything. We did ceramics and screen printing and illustration and all that sort of stuff. But photography was where myself and my friend really dove into it. And that whole end-to-end process is such a different experience from, even loading your own film canister. Yeah. Taking it out, shooting, not like you said, not knowing, but you're applying your skills and your learnt knowledge to make sure that you get the best shot you possibly can. And then there's that whole unknown that you've got to wait until you get back to the, school's got to open again on Monday. You've got to go in, but you don't have, I'm in the darkroom until that afternoon. It's just that whole, there's almost like an excitable energy behind developing film, behind shooting film. That, like you said, I think it is a bit of a dying art. And, we've got some friends who still shoot a lot of film. Every now and then Justin shoots film, but actually this morning I was looking at Joel Elston's collection from the recent Bright Festival. He shoots film. Right. He was doing a lot of Bruce Gilden style work with the flash. He even ran a workshop about it. And so, Justin and I'd be hanging out at the festival in the middle, late at night, and someone would come up and shove a camera and a flash in our face, and then by the time you kind of get your sight back, they're gone. But yeah, it's a very different approach to what most people see the craft as, being digital.
Yeah, it is. And that's all we had anyway. So we didn't know any different at that point. And but it was such a cathartic process, and I loved getting in on the Monday morning after shooting on the weekend and coming in and just going, what have I got? And sometimes being bitterly disappointed, and sometimes being going, no, actually that one shot that's the one I'll print up and I'll do something with. So so that was a really good journey.
And it's interesting. We often speak to people especially who started in film, but even those who didn't, who were more recent than us, younger, I should say, that they can identify like an influential person, whether it be a family member, a teacher, a mentor of some sort that really inspired them to make the most of the craft. And I love the fact that there are still people out there that are doing that. Influencing others to be better, to learn more, to find new ways to get out and hunt that light. So
absolutely. Yeah, no, it was really influential, and you can, and probably the same as you guys, you can pinpoint people throughout your life that have been those influential people in in everything, but if it, in photography, but definitely there's been a bunch of them. But that was one of the most earliest. Although I did have an experience in a darkroom in primary school. I remember we were doing something
in primary school.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was
That's cool.
We were doing like a dissection or something, and I ended up just turning a whiter shade of pale, and the teacher's looking at me and going, "Oh, that's not good." And so I ended up in a dark room with another teacher. Probably stuff you can't do these days. But I ended up in a dark room with another teacher, and he's going, "I'll show you how to develop a roll of film." I think they just wanted to get me out of the classroom before I fell on the floor.
Yeah.
And that was actually, I just remembered that then as we're talking about it. I can't even remember who that particular teacher was, but I remember going, "Wow, what is this? What is this art that you're showing me here?" And in the dark and rolling a film onto a canister and cutting the end, and going, "Why are you doing it in the dark? You can't see."
Turn the lights on.
All that sort of stuff. So,
wow.
Can I ask you a question? If someone said to you today, firstly, do you still shoot film?
Occasionally, I do. Yeah,
you do. And do you develop your own, or do you send them off to a lab?
Yeah. Depends on what it is. Black and white I'll do at home, and color I'll send off, and then also just Polaroid stuff. I guess you classify that as film. So but 35 mil film, and usually some 120 on some various cameras I got at home. So
it's just interesting because I haven't developed or touched film. I mean, I've shot with some film, but I have sent it off to labs and all that sort of thing. But I don't know that I'm fairly confident I wouldn't know what to do in a darkroom anymore. I feel like that's a skill that I lost because I didn't nurture it. I didn't keep it up at any point. And I have some regrets about that. It's interesting when you sort of look back on that. Some go, "Oh, I wish I'd stuck with film photography, even just as a side gig like what you're doing." Or
I think you'd be surprised. I think it's a little bit of a muscle memory there with film development as well. You go, "Oh yeah, that's right. You have to agitate for 30 seconds, and that's right." And blah blah blah. It's all become incredibly expensive though these days as well to do film. So that's the other challenge, and everyone wants stuff instantly as well. So there's multiple challenges on that. So it depends on the arena you're working in. For me, anyway. So most of the stuff I'm doing on film is just for myself.
Got a couple of film fiends in the chat right now. David Mascaro, he shoots a fair bit of film, rocking around San Francisco streets. Fantastic. And the drunk wedding photographer is near LA in California and shoots all film wedding photography, which is pretty cool. And I'm sure because of that knows the pain of the cost of processing, I'm sure. Thanks to the time change, I can watch the stream live. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because of daylight savings. So it would have changed a fair bit for your local time. Yeah. But it's very cool to see people still making sort of bodies of work, or even like photography businesses out of film is pretty impressive. I don't know how people do that.
Yeah, that's right. And you need some kind of budget there as well. I did once shoot on Polaroid just recently for an artist, and he was wanting a 70s summer California vibe, the palm trees, sort of that warm light.
Yeah.
And we both live in Melbourne. I'm going, okay, well, that's a good challenge. So we went down to St Kilda and found some palm trees, and it was in the middle of summer. We managed to do it, and we shot that almost predominantly on Polaroid. So that was fun. But not particularly cheap.
Just quickly, just a comment from friend of the show, Simon Pollock. Can you guys do sign? I'm on a work call, but watching at the same time. Haha. Can we all please just give Simon Pollock the bird? Everyone at home, give him the bird. It's the ultimate sign. Go on.
Sorry, Simon.
Hopefully
Simon. You saw that. Enjoy
That's
your
all
work
the sign
call.
language we know. I think this is hello. I think that's about it. I used to know a lot more.
I wonder if YouTube will do something for us for that. I don't know. Kick us off.
Taken off.
So what happened after studying? Like, what did you do after that? Did you have to go and get a real job, or like what was life like?
I did. Moved. I did all the studying in the country, in Monash down in Churchill, in regional Victoria, and moved to the city and moved to Melbourne after that. Ended up working in a record store for a number of years, and then ended up working in a camera store. I got my first job in a camera store then, and that was good. It was actually fun looking back and just going, oh yeah, that was a whole lot of resources that were available, and around other photographers that couldn't get work, and everyone's ended up in the camera store, and it was good, and you get lots of photographers coming in. That was sort of in the 90s. I guess paralleling that was then taking my camera to music venues and just photographing, and you could then as well, you could just walk up to anywhere and take your camera and photograph. No one really cared at all. From memory.
Now you can't even take your camera into a shopping centre in Melbourne and take a photo because but you can, your phone's fine. iPhone, no problem. That's you can make a TikTok in there, but God forbid you walk through there with your Leica Q3 and you're trying to check some of the settings and you take a photo and the security guard walks up to you and says, excuse me, you cannot do that here.
Yeah,
it was so weird.
Absolutely. Well, I was shooting a show last night, and I was at Festival Hall, and just to get in, I was taking my bag, and the security said, no, you can't take that backpack in, it's too big. And I said, well, I need to, it's got my gear in. It's going, no, you can't take it in. And I go, well, I'm actually working here tonight. And anyway, eventually got in. But back in the day, you could do that. Yeah, I remember going to things like the Big Day Out and taking a 35mm camera. There was film then as well, and with a big long zoom lens, and just shooting all day long. And you get up to the front of the barrier. We didn't have backstage passes or anything, but you just shot, and it was fun. And there was zero restrictions, and no one cared. It was great, and all the venues around town here, you could do that, and even going to the bigger venues like the Forum. I remember shooting in the Forum in those days, and no one cared. But anyway, at some point that changed.
Why do you think that changed? Like, what forces were at work? Is it bands struggling to make ends meet because of declining royalties and things like that? So they were clinging on to everything where they're like, hey, that's our image. We need to, we need to make sure people aren't making money selling our imagery without us getting a cut or whatever. Like, what do you think it was?
That's a really good question. I often think about that and wonder that as well. And I think that's tied up with the whole, as music photographers, you're only granted a little bit of time to shoot bands, usually the first 3 songs, unless you're working with the band or you're. And so I think it's tied up into money, definitely. I think I don't know, to be honest. I believe the first 3 song thing was tied up with, I think Chrissy Amphlett was one of the ones that instigated that, I believe. So the rumor goes, I don't know if that's true or not, because she would go, I look better in the first 3 songs at the start of the set than I do at the last 3 songs.
So it was
at
ego.
the end of the set. Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
But that's only a rumor. We're trying to work out why this. I think it's tied up in those sorts of things as well, and being a little bit precious. And as we age, people don't want photographers in their faces often. Unfortunately. It's a really good question. I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are, you guys' thoughts on that, or anyone's listening as well, because it's really interesting.
Well, that's the only thing that popped into my head, whether it was like a control thing in terms of
sure it is,
that they were struggling to lose to keep control of their recorded music, and it was like, and obviously the proliferation of digital cameras and stuff. They're probably like, God, now every man and his dog's got a camera at our show. We don't want this anymore. Well, we need to like cut this off, because, like I say, when you were back in the day, maybe 3 people brought film cameras to a show. It was like, it's no big deal. It's like, and then what happens to the photos? No one really knows. Whereas maybe it was the visibility too. It's like they see them pop up on social media and they're like, hang on a minute, we got to put a stop to this. Whereas no one, the other photos weren't going worldwide. They might get seen locally in a magazine or, a zine or something. But it wasn't like the band wasn't getting exposed to these photos getting taken by a non-sanctioned photographer. I don't know.
I reckon it's just marketing. I reckon it's pure marketing control. Let's regulate it. Let's put some barriers around it, so that we control what goes out.
I think control and money it always comes down to
Lucinda said that too.
Lucinda's she'd have a great perspective as well.
Lucinda says, I think it's about abuse of power. Can't regulate punters using flash, etc., for the entire set. But
that's fair.
That's right. I was guilty of that back in the day. I remember having point and shoots at the front row bang, bang, flash, and it would have been so annoying.
Yeah.
But you don't, as a young kid, you don't really think about it too much and go, okay, yeah. But if you put yourself on the other side,
yeah. And also, it's like, hey, you've got stage lights and you're a band. It's like, dude, it's kind of part of the gig. Like,
that's right.
The flash hurts my eyes. Like, okay, but you're a metal band. Calm down.
All this fire and
it's like,
yeah. Well, that's right. And then you fast forward, and we just had a well-known Americana artist on our shores who won't allow any flash photography of any form. Phones, definitely not professional cameras, because it triggers a condition that he has, and he'll walk off stage if it happens. It's a flash.
Yeah, wow.
I've been at those shows, so yeah.
And also, I guess the other thing too is like, it's one thing if it's Parkway Drive, a couple of flashes in the front row aren't going to make much difference.
You're not going to know,
But if it's a solo acoustic,
absolutely,
performer, and it's just constant, like bang, 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 like it could ruin the show for everybody. So there's
totally.
certainly. Lucinda says, "Oh yes," and he did crack the shits. Interesting comment from David Mascaro in the US. He says, "Here you can take a 200 to 500 mil lens into a major league baseball game, but not into football or basketball games."
Really,
it's interesting. Baseball must be it's still got that old school vibe, does it? Where they just don't care too much.
Yeah,
fascinating.
Maybe.
That is very interesting, because I would have thought they'd have it all locked down. It's so locked down over there now. You have to wear a bloody, and I think it's coming in here. You have to have a stupid little plastic backpack. You can't even take a bag. Your bag has to be see-through to go into a lot of the venues over there.
Oh, really?
You can't have a back. If your backpack is black, you might have stuff hiding in it. So you have to wear like a little kid's clear backpack with this stuff in it, walking around all day. It's anyway. It's interesting.
Crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
I've got a couple of questions about your involvement with the music industry, and I guess my first question for you is, do you remember your first concert? What was the first concert you went to, and what was that experience? And did you take a camera with you for that first concert?
The first concert, I guess I technically went to. We actually couldn't get in, but we went to, my brother and I. We had a V8 Holden, an old Kingswood, and
nice.
I grew up in country Victoria, and Susie Quattro was in town.
Nice.
She was playing at the local Memorial Hall, and we couldn't get in, but we drove the Kingswood up against the side of the thing and stood on the roof. So I tried to peer in through the window, and we heard her warming up out backstage somewhere in the toilet or something, and was fascinated. So I guess that's kind of technically one of the first concerts.
That's a great story.
Went to. So I can't tell you any more about that, because I don't think we saw much more than that, and we kind of saw bits through the cracks in the windows, and that was about it. Didn't have a lot of stuff coming into town, but yeah, that was probably one of the earliest ones I can remember. We were only teenagers then, and probably didn't even have licenses, so probably shouldn't have been driving, but no one cared back then.
No. Lucinda's just said that's about the most regional town story ever.
I can picture that scene in my head. The
That's
it's like a scene out of an Australian movie.
It was very Aussie, and we loved every second of it. But you'd occasionally get touring bands coming through town, and it was so good. Didn't matter who it was. So that's why all those things that sort of things like Triple J have done later on, where they did all those regional tours with bands and stuff, have been really important for kids and anyone in parts of town. But that was good. Yeah. I think one of the other ones after that was Choir Boys. They played at one of the local pubs in town, and I remember that being insanely loud. Again, with my brother and I, we went and stood up front and go, "Oh, this sounds good," and then just having our hair parted by the sound, and it was so incredibly loud, But it was good. That was good. So we just loved music, and just whatever was coming through town, we'd go and see, and then that's one of the earliest, couple of the earliest. Yeah.
And do you recall the concert you first took a camera to?
There was a few. Some of the earliest ones. When I was really into metal when I was a teenager. Still do like metal a lot, but I was as a teenager. There was a band from the States called Striper, who were who are huge, and they played at Festival Hall. And I had my little 110 camera that I mentioned before, my little red Hanimex 110 camera, and I remember taking that in and standing right up against the stage and getting photos of the drummer from sort of side on at Festival Hall there. So that was one of the earliest memories, I think, of taking things. And then I think I snuck a camera into B.B. King when he came out.
B.B. King, wow.
So a blues guitarist from the States, dearly departed, great. And that was sort of off the back of him joining forces with U2, and when they did the sort of Love Comes to Town.
That's right.
Track, and that was all. He'd been playing for decades and was a legend, but fairly unknown. U2 did that pairing of Love Comes to Town. So he was doing solo tours. I snuck a huge big lens into that. And that was at the Glass House, which is now across from Rod Laver there, which is now the Collingwood Football Club's headquarters. But that was a music venue once upon a time.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
and saw him there, and that was a really good show. He was fantastic. So I should try and dig those shots up. I don't think they were very good, but
it doesn't matter. Every shot tells a story.
It does, and that was a great show. So yeah.
Justin, do you remember your first concert? Obviously, it wasn't the Wiggles.
Like big concert?
Yeah, like proper name
proper concert. Because we used to play in bands and organize gigs and stuff in Bendigo, and I think, and like before that, I went to a few sort of small, like Battle of the Bands and things like that around town. I'm just trying to think what the first big one was. Oh, I don't even remember. I've got
to tell you mine.
Memory. Yeah, go.
Aerosmith.
Wow.
What?
Your first one?
First concert was Aerosmith.
Damn.
Jeez. Yep. It's all downhill from there.
Yeah.
I know. I got to see Guns N' Roses at Calder Park when they had that at the Thunderdome.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that day? And it was like 40 degrees and it poured with rain, and it turned the whole, because it was set up in like pit lane, the drag strip.
Yep.
And so the berm around the drag strip that was there for noise suppression became where everyone stood or sat. And we watched Guns N' Roses, and I can't remember who else was at that. It was massive and mad. And because it rained and it was so hot, like the security were just hurling bottles of water into the crowd, and it just became a mud pit. That was impressive. But Aerosmith, Steve Tyler, he was like an athlete. He just didn't stop moving.
Where was that?
Oh gosh.
In
Melbourne? Might have been it was in Melbourne. Yeah. I mean, it was in Melbourne.
So probably Festival Hall.
Probably Festival Hall, yeah.
Wasn't My Music Bowl or somewhere like that?
Indoors? Maybe. I can't remember if it was indoor. Anyway, I can't remember. But it was an amazing concert. Really cool.
It would have been
really
great.
Cool. Love in an Elevator, that kind of era.
Okay.
Of Aerosmith, yeah.
So the 90s sort of era.
Yeah, the 90s, yeah.
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 Wow.
Right.
If I can name drop for 1 second.
Please do.
I have two kids, and we were in the States, and their first concert was Aretha Franklin. So we saw her only less than a year before she passed away in New York City. We were there. It cost a small fortune to go and see her, but let's go do it. We had the kids, and we couldn't leave them, so they thought, okay, well, they'll come with us. And so now they're quite happy to brag about that being their first.
Wow. Yeah, what a great concert.
Yeah. It was a really good show. It was in the Round in Queens, and it was so good. She was unwell and she was old, but her voice just she came out. She had a big long leopard skin jacket on, and she just commanded attention and did all the hits and was awesome.
Yeah.
Wasn't
That's very cool.
What a show. Just a couple of comments from the chat. Wookiees confirmed for me that Skid Row and Rose Tattoo were there. Yes, they were.
Yes, the Tats. Of course, the Tats would have been there. That's a good lineup.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty impressive. And then, of course, to finish with Guns N' Roses, like that was massive. Because it was during that time. It was when they brought out that album. There was a blue version and a red version.
Use Your Illusion.
Yeah, it was that period. Yeah, it was crazy. And yes, Lucinda said I was born in the wrong era. Felicity Johnson, first concert was Adam Ant. Oh, really? That's so old school. Adam Ant.
Ant music. Yeah.
Yep.
That would have been unreal.
Cool.
Wow.
That was pretty cool.
I'm annoyed now. I can't think of who. It's just a full blank.
You need to phone a friend.
As to who it was. Maybe
You need to get your PA to investigate it.
No, one of them. I do know a friend that I could probably call right now, and he would figure out within 5 minutes what the first one I went to was. He's got a memory for that stuff. But yeah, we went. You know, my big regret is I never went to Big Day Out.
Okay.
I always, because that was sort of like the era when I was younger. And I was always like, I'll get there one year, but I would always think about like, you're probably better off going to the side shows anyway. You know, if you really like a band, you go and see them at their own show. But now looking back, I'm like, I should have just gone to every single one of those.
Yeah, well, that's right. We're all in the same boat there. It was such an iconic time. And I know, you know, I don't want to be another old guy just reminiscing about the good old days, but there hasn't been much like it since. And
no.
there's been a few things that have been kind of a little bit similar, but it was such a good event. And you know, at the Melbourne Showgrounds there, and it was a touring show. And I actually have a book which I don't have it here, but it was by the touring photographer whose name I can't forget her name. She toured with the Big Day Out for years, and she created a book, and it was such a good time. Yeah.
Oh wow!
That's a cool.
Yeah,
book.
that'd be epic.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah,
there's some funny comments in the chat. David Mascaro says the 70s was the greatest, and Robert Varner says I'm in my 70s.
Yeah, Robert was watching the Beatles. I'm sure.
Wow,
was still
so good.
banging out classics.
Leach, level 42 at Wembley Stadium.
Oh, wow. Yeah, wow. Level 42. Wow, there you go.
And Lucinda's was definitely. Sorry, I jumped in. Sorry,
no, you're right. The Wiggles.
But which version of the Wiggles? Was it the OG Wiggles, or was it, the woke version? Oh, that's a terrible thing to say, Greg.
Well, the new, not improved version. Rodney Nicholson says Eagles, Doobies, Santana for $6.50. That's ridiculous.
Get out
that's crazy, Rodney.
You got ripped off, Rodney. That's way too much to spend on those tickets. That's insane.
Wow.
Oh dear. Okay, it's going crazy. OG Wiggles.
I took the kids to see Oasis when they were in town last month, and that I did have to sell a kidney to go to that show. But I was reminiscing on going, I'll pull out my ticket stub from when I saw them last. And it was at the Forum here in Melbourne, and I think it was $60, and which was a lot at that time. That was in the early 2000s, and compared to now, it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I think the greatest show I ever went to was Midnight Oil, and it was an open air venue. I can't remember where it was, but it was open air, and I remember that the tickets were like only $20, and it was at a time when, like you said, tickets were up around the 60, 80, they were creeping to 100.
Yeah.
And it was the greatest concert. Peter Garrett's energy was just so infectious.
Absolutely.
And they just played banger after banger after banger. It was great.
I could talk about Midnight Oil. I know I was saying I probably don't have enough things to talk about, but I could talk about Midnight Oil for the next 2 hours as well if you wanted, which we won't. But absolutely. I have been fortunate enough to photograph them a bunch of times, and good memories of going to see them back in the day as well. I did go and see them at the old Palace, which was next to the Palais in St Kilda. I don't know if you guys remember that. It burnt down suspiciously a number of years ago now, and the Oils played there. And I remember having shirts off, things you wouldn't do now, shirts off, and my socks and jeans were just dripping with sweat by the end of the show, and it was so much fun. Much fun. So, yeah.
Crazy.
Nice.
Those were the days.
Those were the days.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we're a photography podcast, so let me pose some photography questions to you.
Yeah, let's do that.
Could forgive this for a music podcast, but what's been the most technically challenging concert for you to shoot, do you think, and why?
A lot of them, because there's as any music photographer will tell you, they're a challenge for a whole lot of reasons, and every concert is different. Sometimes some venues are a little bit similar, but it's there's the obvious things like changing light conditions, a moving target sometimes, other factors to deal with, like with punters behind you, depending on if there's a photo pit for you to shoot in or not. various projectiles flying, well,
Yep.
people crowd surfing above your head, all that sort of stuff. And then if you've only got restricted amount of time to get, 20 or 30, 40, 50 shots within only a few songs, getting good shots is the challenge. Nailing everything and doing that is the challenge. The most probably one that comes to mind was I was photographing the Lime Spiders. They're a great band from the 80s, Australian band, and they were playing at the Croxton here in Melbourne. And they didn't fill the big room, so they got moved to sort of a front bar, and at the last minute, and the lead singer was unhappy with the lighting in there, so he kept asking for the lights to be kind of turned down, and they kept going, and then he just got so annoyed with them, he goes, just turn the lights off. So he performed in the dark.
What? Wow.
And it was literally in the dark, and he got so annoyed. So that was a challenge to shoot that. I don't think I got much out of that one. I know one of the other photographers that was there pulled his flash out and started taking photos, and he was a brave man because Mick Blood, who fronts the Lime Spiders, he's a tough dude. He's a tough dude. So I don't know if I'd want.
He's tough, but he couldn't handle the house lights.
Yeah, that's right.
Not that tough.
Yeah, that's right. I wasn't going to find out. Put it that way.
Yeah,
that's
right. That's fair.
Give him some sunglasses.
So that was a challenge. That was a challenge to shoot that. But I think every show is. Every show is a challenge, and they're often. I love the challenge to do that because sometimes it's presented differently, and different bands present different challenges as well. Paul Kelly at the My Music Bowl, he was doing his how to make gravy Christmas shows. He was doing a run-off for a while there, and at the My Music Bowl, the big amphitheatre, so it has it's a big amphitheatre sloping on the hill. It bucketed down with rain there just before he came on, and the rain all just came down the under the seats there, sort of all paved, and the water filled up in the photo pit, and the water kept coming up and up and up, and it got up to, I stood back onto the front row, and then the seats were half a meter off the ground, and then it came up to those seats and went to the next row, came up to those seats, and just kept filling up. It got to about 1.5 meters deep at least, and all the speakers were on the ground, like all the subs were on the ground, and they all floated and then just fell over into the water. There's all these power cables and audio cables. So I'm going, there's no way I'm going to get into that water. And the show stopped, and I thought that was going to be the end of it. But they kept going. They pulled the speakers out. Some brave souls got in there and put them out. And then Paul Kelly came on. It wasn't during, he was just before he started, and it came on and he played a set. So that was a challenge to shoot that one as well. So
shit. Although the photo, I'd love to see photos of the chaos. Not there is like the speakers and the
it was crazy. It was crazy.
Lucinda says I was at that show as a punter.
Oh, really?
The speaker stacks were floating in the pit.
Absolutely, they were.
On the grass with my sister because her friend bailed. That's probably a safe place to be, Lucinda. I think that's a good.
Although it depends how you read that. It could be on the grass.
She was on the. Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
Never mind.
We know what you're up to, Lucinda.
I think I remembered what my first concert was. My first proper concert. It's been processing in my brain. It just takes a while. It's like an old hard drive. It takes a while to boot up, to go deep into the archives. But I think it was I think my dad took me to see Eric Clapton. Because I was playing guitar and stuff like that, and I always enjoyed listening to Eric Clapton. Obviously, so did he. And that was when I learnt because I think I was starting to play in a band already, and there was always talk about like tightening up, tightening up the song and having a tight rhythm section. Rhythm section being generally bass and drums for a rock band. And that show is when I learnt what an actual tight rhythm section was.
Absolutely.
Because it was perfect, but with so much punch and vibe all night. The entire, I think it was a 2-hour show or something insane like that. And you know what these session musos that play with someone like Eric Clapton are like? Just the best of the best. It blew my mind. I thought I was there to see guitar, and I learnt what a band could do. Yeah.
Can you remember where that was at?
I can't remember. No, I'm trying to. It'll give me another hour.
No, that's all right.
It might pop up.
Once he defrags, it'll be fine.
That's because I was trying to work out like how old was I and stuff, but it's just it's all a blur.
Wow.
Yeah. Just
it would have
speaking of
had
Clapton.
to be. Yeah.
Sorry, Jay.
Oh,
Speaking of David Deer Parker's has joined the fray. It was not my first, but Queen's A Night at the Opera tour was a highlight. Seeing Queen live, that would have been amazing.
Wow.
Also, Clapton's 461 Ocean Boulevard tour and George Benson's Breezen tour are both up there.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing performances, I'm sure.
Wow. Yeah, awesome.
Gosh.
Yeah. People have seen some crazy stuff in the chat, that's for sure.
Know. You can see, and so is this why everyone loves bands, right? Everyone loves going to live shows. Not everyone, but most people. Is this why it became so difficult to make a living as a photographer shooting live shows? Because who wouldn't want to be front row for any of these, bands that have popped up? And if you can do that, and then you start making that trade-off where you're like, oh, well, it's not really going to pay my bills, but gosh, I'd love to see that band. Yeah. Is that the negative spiral that makes it really hard to make a living in that industry?
Yeah, it can be. It can be. I think these days everyone has a camera as well, so there's photos everywhere, and it's a really good question. I don't know, but it is hard to make a living as a music photographer, and I know Lucinda would attest to that, and Shane. And there's sort of other ways you need to kind of make money. You can do it, and there are probably only a few full-time music photographers in Melbourne. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that make a full-time living out of it. So it's a challenge. But everyone has a camera these days, and getting access is a challenge. Yeah.
Are you one of those people that make a full-time living? Is it your thing?
I do make a full-time living out of photography, not out of music photography alone.
Okay.
That's what I was going to say. I think, like Lucinda often does, works with bands and does,
all the other
stuff and portraits and green room stuff. And there's a lot more to it than just showing up at a live concert.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The live shows, there's not really much in that financially, at least from my end. The promo stuff and being connected via labels and management is great. Also, a lot of video work. Video work's probably a bit more profitable than photographic work. I do a bunch of video work as well, so that helps pay bills.
What sort of video? Like what does that look like? What's a video job for you?
They're all different. I do some music stuff, but a lot of the stuff I work with a not-for-profit. And we do a lot of work around the world. So I get to travel with them, really fortunately, just doing interviews, telling stories, people's stories from all sorts of parts. So that is really good. That pays the bills, amongst other stuff, and some music stuff in there as well. So some live stuff. But it's hard.
And starting to take on video, was that something that you had previously said, I'm not going to do video, I'm just a stills photographer, but the needs must. You had to expand the streams of income for yourself, or was it?
It actually came up through I was offered a job as a video editor a number of years ago, and I'm going, I actually don't know how to do that. I don't know why you offered me this job. And I was actually working as an audio engineer, and as well as a photographer and in a photography store. And they go, we just think you could be good at this. I go, okay. So I gave it a shot and really enjoyed it and learned a lot. Steep learning curve. Lots of crossover though with video cameras. I remember having a video camera, and we had a small one, this company that I began working for. And I remember, with a stills camera, you shoot landscape and you shoot portrait. I did that with the video camera. I started shooting it portrait, and I took it back in, and the guy's going, why have you turned the camera on its side? So everything was on its side. It was just dumb. I don't know why I was doing that. I was so green.
So ahead of your time.
That's right.
That's
why everyone's shooting it now. But learning that, and then kind of fell into that, and I learned a lot of skills, learned a lot about live video stuff, so like live switching, directing, and editing, and while still my main passion and main love was stills, that sort of paralleled that, and I kept that in my pocket for a while, went away from it, came back to it, and then doing a lot of that now. And I have a studio here where we do a lot of video work, and a lot of it's on location stuff, and some of it's fairly dry, but it's all doing stuff. Some of it can be just recording conferences and that, but
yeah, still got a camera in hand.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels and crossover from audio engineering to video editing, from what I found, in terms of like the
sound,
editing. Like obviously having the sound background for video itself, but even just the kind of the layout of an editor and how it works is it feels similar.
Yeah.
But then there's some frustrating differences too. But I had that same. I was scared of video for a long time, and then but had that same background in audio engineering, and then you sort of start to, you're like, oh, it's actually kind of similar.
Yeah, well, that's it. When you take the audio component out, and it's working with sound waves, and it's editing and cutting and chopping, and again, that was coming from an era when you had tape, recording onto tape, and having to physically chop stuff and erase things with a pen, all that sort of stuff.
Wow.
To then going into the digital world. So it was a big change. But yeah, there are lots of parallels, which I think probably helped. I think you're right, Justin. That was, it did help.
Sort of, familiar kind of a setup when you open up the program. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
And speaking of that transition from film and tape for video, but film into digital photography, how did that pan out for you? Were you an earlier adopter, or did you kind of hold off until digital was properly cooked?
I'm not a latest and greatest guy, but I love technology and I love all that. I don't go out, but I'm not a Luddite either. I remember, so I was working at a camera store then, and when that transition was going on, and so you'd have these digital cameras that come in that were huge. I remember Kodak making that. They were essentially a 35mm camera. I don't know if you remember them. They were a 35mm camera with a huge sort of base on them, like this big, with the camera sort of on the top. And that was the digital camera. And, the specs, these days were so average. They were like, I can't remember what they were, but they were really horrible. And I'm looking at it and going, I'm not so sure about this digital thing, but watched it. And then you became forced to in the end anyway, to a large extent, in some regards. But I don't think I held off. I don't think I was an early adopter either. I was somewhere probably in the middle. I think for me, working in the video world,
was it like that?
Something like that. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the Nikon Kodak partnership. Yeah, there you go. And they were huge. And they were heavy. They were heavy. And
state of the art.
They were then. That was, and I think they were even bigger than that initially. But that's pretty much what they were, and they were huge.
That's amazing. But to be fair, the actual camera body, not the block at the bottom, like the design for digital mirrorless cameras, doesn't stray that far from that, does it?
No, that's right. DSLRs, that's right.
Yeah.
DSLRs at least. Well, they just took a camera body and attached it on there. But they.
Oh, they're cool. Look at the what were those?
Like the serial port.
Yeah, serial port. That's right. I can imagine that in the brochure, like serial port.
Well, you got to remember at this time there was, if you were working as a professional photographer, like a studio photographer, you would have Polaroid backs on your film cameras. So you would set up your lighting. You would get your talent in there, or you'd get the assistant to come and stand in there. You have your Polaroid back on your 35mm, or probably more so your 120 or your 4x5. Yeah. You take a Polaroid of the setup, check your Polaroid for your exposure, and then take that off and put your film back on and do your actual shots. So when digital came in, it kind of was going, okay, we're going to take all of that away, and you can see straight away what you're getting pretty much.
Yeah.
Or downloading onto a computer, or connecting via the serial port onto your computer or onto a screen. And so that was, there was the cost of Polaroid film, Polaroid backs, plus the cost of film. So that was the transition with them. So taking that out of the equation was huge. So having something like that, looking back now again, well, they're crazy. mad, big, clunky things, and they were really expensive too then as well.
Yeah, I bet.
But that was the genesis of that change, I think, which kind of sparked where we are now. So yeah,
it is interesting about the Polaroid back. I didn't realize that was a thing. But now today we have like some of the Instax cameras technically are a digital camera with a Polaroid back or with an Instax back.
Yeah.
But is it DJI who was it that just Insta360 just released that new camera with the and it's got like a tiny film printer. Well, I think it uses e-ink.
You know what? It's almost like they kind of copied that.
Yeah.
From the image we just looked at. Let me just find a picture. Have you seen this thing that they're selling? It's like an action camera.
I've known the 360
with a grip. Yeah, so they've released a new grip with a couple of actual
no, I haven't seen those.
Dials, tactile dials to change things.
Right.
But they've also included like a
let me find
like a Polaroid printer that sticks to the bottom of it.
And so it's all modular.
That could be really helpful, yeah. Well, they're fantastic. Those sorts of things are great for traveling when we're traveling overseas and photographing, and you're in a context like a third world context or another where you have all the kids coming around, you're taking their photos. It's good to actually give people something.
Yeah, we've
those
talked about that a few times. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So like
I've shot birthday
from the
parties
bottom.
where I've set up an Instax camera over on like a table with a book and a white like black page photo book with a white pen, and I'd take their photos and they'd stick it in the book, and then they'd write a message with the white pen on the black paper. It always looked good.
Excellent. Yeah.
Just a value add.
Nice for weddings and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, I actually did a wedding. I don't do weddings, but I actually did one last month. I was reluctant, and it was a friend of a friend, and they rang up and they said, "Oh, would you mind doing it?" I said, "I actually don't do weddings. There's a whole lot of really good wedding photographers out there." And they said, "No, we want a photojournalistic approach to our wedding." And I'm going,
that sounds nice.
That sounds
got
me there. Yeah.
How were you able to stay true to that on the day, or did you get pulled? Did they pull you into kind of like, we said documentary, but we actually want you to do all this setup stuff?
No, they were great. They were really great couple, and they did that. They was fly on the wall stuff. It was really, really good. So I'm kind of going, okay,
that sounds awesome.
I can stomach it.
Key question: did you get fed?
I did. Yes, they looked after me very, very well.
Yeah.
Me and the DJ, we had a table, and we got fed. But the reason why I brought that up was when you were just mentioning about they had digital cameras on every table for their guests to take photos of, which is, it used to be disposable cameras back in the day. It's disposable film cameras, but they looked like they'd bought them just probably off Temu or somewhere. They were just unbranded little digital cameras, and people could, which is a great idea. Great idea.
Yeah, just quick little
now.
Points.
Those disposable film cameras. I was at Big W the other day. I'm sure I saw one for like $40.
Wow.
Yep. Plus processing, it's like it adds up. Adds up pretty quick.
Yeah,
it really does. Yeah, like it's crazy. What do we got here? Yeah, the waterproof one is $48 for 27 exposures.
Wow.
The Kodak one is $50. That has a flash. The Fujifilm one is $44. That's crazy.
Wow.
I remember.
I guess film is so expensive now.
Maybe it's
and that comes in a tiny little roll. So
yeah. But for 50, there's one here for $95.
Wow.
Kodak water and sports disposable 35 mil. Like for $95, you can go and buy it. Fairly shit, but
at that point, just buy an X-half and just toss it out when you finish with it. I mean,
that's right.
Yeah.
Same thing. Anyway, sorry.
I just quickly, I want to, like that wedding, would you do more of those if you were guaranteed that it could be like that? Proper documentary, because that is obviously, I love that that's you do a lot of different genres, but in general, that's your overarching style is documentary.
Yeah, I think that was only a realization I've come to only probably recently, but I think, just documenting the world around me and going, I can do that. I can do that. I can do stuff in the studio. I can do this and that, but just documenting what's going on around me and trying to do that in an unbiased way is a challenge. Yeah, look, I might do more of it. I don't know if someone asks, but it's still a long day, and it's slightly stressful,
Yeah.
This couple, some pressure, isn't there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was waiting for them during the ceremony for the kiss. There's always there's the kiss, not always, but there's the kiss, and they didn't have a kiss, and I was getting stressed out because when's the kiss coming? And they didn't kiss. They got to the end and they haven't kissed, so I was worried about missing the shot. And but they didn't care about it. So there's those sorts of moments that you just got to get, and the little flower girl walking up with the rings and blah blah blah, and all that sort of stuff. So
that's one of the things that you learn, like, because we did the weddings for quite a while. Jim still does them now. I don't do them so much anymore, but we did them for 10 years as a business, right. And they're the sorts of things you start to learn, that different celebrants have different formats. We'd rock up. The first thing we'd do is talk to the celebrant and be like, hey, what's the structure when you do the first kiss? Is there anything weird happening? Idea. And then the final question always is, where do you normally stand during the first kiss? And they usually say, I'll be just there behind the couple. And you're like, would you mind not being there? Could you maybe for that part just take a few steps off to one side and then do that part? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's fine. And we're like, because when there's just like half the head of a celebrant behind the first kiss.
That's weird. Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah.
So, you only learn those things though after it happening, and then you're like, oh, it's too late.
Right. Well, we have these wonderful integrations now with AI. You can just remove all that stuff fairly.
Oh, that's true. Well, that's true. Add some other shit in the background, put an elephant back there or whatever you want.
Elephant, a monkey.
Actually, that's a very good segue. Thank you. There's a comment here from Paul who says, I think live music will get a boost as people lose confidence in online or streamed music as AI-generated sludge starts drowning out the human-generated art. And I think that could be said, hopefully that could be said for photography too. What are your thoughts on that?
So what's he actually asking?
Well, he's not asking. He's just saying that he thinks that people will move back to live music more because they'll get sick of mass-produced fake music, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, there was. I was watching. I don't know if you guys watch Rick Beato at all on YouTube.
A little bit. No, I haven't caught up on all of his stuff lately about sort of all of that topic. I'd love to know what's
great. Yeah. Well, he did a thing. He's going, I'll show you how easy it is to create a song in AI from start to finish, and he did it in a matter of minutes. And I was
going to say he is a wizard in terms of producing.
He is a wizard.
So it's like that's kind of like the world's best photographer being like, look how easy it is to just put this Canon on auto and take great art. And it's like, but you know.
But what he did was he goes, here's the prompts. I'm going to use some fairly specific prompts. I want to create a song. I want to create a country song that's written about this, and this prompts, and I want name, and I want a photo, and I want lyrics, and he did all that, and it comes up really quickly. Then he drops that into another AI music generating program where you take those lyrics, you just literally drop them into this other program, you give it a few prompts, and then bang, there's a song there. And he did it within a matter of a few minutes. And I know, he's a pro, but what in that context, I'm going, it actually wasn't. You don't need a lot of skill, if any, to do that.
Especially if you do it 400 times and you only need one hit song, because you can iterate so fast, and then you stumble across one, you're like, wow, that's got something on it. Like I've hit it. So you don't have to be an expert. You just got to keep cranking on that.
That's right. Yeah, keep generating till you get something that you want. So I think there will be a push back towards actual photography in the flesh, doing stuff. I think the AI is going to go too far. It's an interesting thing. It's a tool. And everyone's got their own thoughts on AI, and I love how it's integrated into things like Lightroom that I use all the time, or Photoshop, and those integrations have been helpful. But when there's starting to be a whole AI generated bands that are going to the top 10 on the Spotify charts or whatever, I'm going, whoa, what's happened here? What is that? And the songs they're okay. They're not bad songs when you listen to them, and they're hard to pick if you could pick them at all. That was the other thing that Rick Beato talked about. He talked about here's some songs on the top 10 that have been generated by this but he couldn't pick out where they were coming from. They've appeared, but who's doing this stuff?
Yeah,
and, who's doing that? And they're generating huge amounts of money.
But what's going to get interesting though is they're generating huge amounts of money. But why are they generating so much money?
Yeah,
because is it because they get some traction and then how are they getting discovered? People aren't sending AI songs to each other and being like, oh man, you got to listen to this. This is the new track from Nobody. So is it because Spotify's pushing them?
I think
the
so.
algorithm's pushing them?
Yeah, it'd be something to do with that. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Like how are they going viral?
It's something to do with all of that type of thing, and
there's literally almost no overheads for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's right.
But that's what I mean is like, is that why Spotify's pushing them? Because it's like, this will be a more profitable way for us to have people, like rather than paying artists, we can just pay people to generate AI songs and.
Yeah, it's hard. Very few artists are making money off streaming platforms anyway, unless you're Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran, where you're getting the gazillion streams.
Yeah, and even then, they're probably not getting what they should be getting for that level of popularity. Compared to say what a superstar like Michael Jackson would have got from album sales back in the day. Yeah, I'm assuming he got a lot.
Yeah.
Well, he bought a monkey and a giraffe. I'm sure he earned lots.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, Neverland. Yeah,
there is that.
I think there's a real. I think these things will come back to the real tactile. I want to have something that I can touch and feel and be a part of, and that human experience. I was working with a band just recently who. They've released an album which is a little bit of a pushback against AI, where they had they wanted all the artwork that they were associating with their record to be generated by music, and the way that they did that is they created a rig, they called it, which was essentially a speaker, and they put a canvas on the top of that speaker with paint, and they played the songs through that, and let the paint generate these artworks. So they had a different artwork for every song. So you go into Bandcamp, you can find that, there's the cover, and then each song has a different artwork that's generated by the music. And there was a little bit of a pushback against AI, just going, let's get the human side into this, or let's let the art speak, not something that's generated by an algorithm or the like. So I thought that was a really cool project. Yeah,
that is a very cool way to take a stand in a fun way to augment your album. We will get back to photography, I promise, but I want to. So AI is fun to talk about. So we've hit this point where it can generate songs. You heard our crappy intro song. That was one prompt. It's really unfortunately
only one
catchy.
prompt.
One prompt, yeah.
Really?
It actually, I've found with this thing that I tried a few times sooner or whatever, and now I'm not a AI music person, but I do know a little bit about music, so I kind of know what I want. But the thing I was finding was I was trying to refine these songs and make them better with additional prompts. They got worse and worse. It was often the first like spin up. I was like, wow, that's catchy. It's got something. I'd just like to maybe try and make it, change it this way or that way. Got worse. It was really interesting. It's probably just my lack of prompting ability because I don't do that. I just did this for fun, and turned out we like having an intro song.
I saw just a little slight interjection there. I saw a thing on, I think it was Instagram this morning. I was just doom scrolling while I was waiting to start here. And there was something about a new Coca-Cola ad for their Christmas, because they're big about Christmas, right? And their Santa Claus, their white Santa and all of that. So they created an AI generated ad, and it had like 700 or maybe it was even like thousands of prompts to get to the final image.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like in that time frame, you could have paid an illustrator, to just do the drawing, like do the graphical art. It's frustrating.
Yeah, well, I do worry about the future and our kids having jobs and all that sort of stuff. But yeah,
well, this is what I wanted to talk about, because a lot of the people so where I was getting at that is, so that app can generate music off a single prompt, and you can tweak it, and people can make songs, and they end up in the charts.
Yeah,
that takes a fair bit of computing power, but at the speed that AI is getting better, there is a lot of talk that we won't be that far from feature-length films that are AI generated with prompts. So rather than it being like, oh, I made a cool song, it can be like, I made a movie about Greg, just for fun.
Yeah.
I just prompted it in and make a feature-length movie about Greg. with Greg in it.
Yeah.
And that seems pretty crazy.
I just found the Coca-Cola ad. It was over 7,000 prompts to generate. It's a video to generate this year's special Coca-Cola ad. It's the second year in a row they've used AI to generate their ads, and it's the second year in a row that people are protesting. Pushing back.
It's really interesting, isn't it? It's interesting that there's a lot of clauses being put in place by different companies saying you cannot submit AI-generated artwork. Or I have a friend who's a digital artist. He's a really great digital artist, and he's huge, and he creates all his stuff on a computer. It's not AI generated, but he creates it digitally, and if you're submitting stuff somewhere, there's different clauses come in with different people that won't accept AI generated artworks, which raises some other questions. I'm going, well, how do you know it's AI generated or not? Tell. It is getting harder to tell. And I was having this discussion with someone the other day about, there's once upon a time you could believe a photo that you saw. There's a photo taken of a UFO in
it was proof.
Midwest America, going, there's proof. Or there was this thing that happened, but now you can't believe any photos,
And then there was a point where it was like, well, if you were filming while you took that photo, you could be like, here, this is me standing on the mountain when I took this sunrise photo. Yeah. But now, soon, you're going to be able to generate the footage. You could fake the footage too. Soon, like it's true.
Like you get halfway through like a video on, say, Instagram, and you're convinced that something's actually happening, and then something like I watched one this morning, and this car ended up crashing and flipping, and then everyone rushed to the car. I think it was like a rally car, and then it zooms into the window, and it's a cat that just turns around and sticks up its finger. But until the cat,
Greg, what are you doing?
Until I saw, I watch a lot of cat videos, but until I saw that there was a cat in the driver's seat, I was convinced it was real.
Yeah,
there was no question from it.
It's
it was
crazy.
Just some sort of weird car accident thing, and a cat with a helmet on and sunglasses just sticking its finger up at you. So it's
gosh,
crazy.
That's happened. It actually happened.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know.
Yeah,
that's right.
Wow. I think that's the biggest problem is what people choose to believe from that content. It's what people. I mean, that example is pretty extreme. Obviously, I watch a lot of cat videos, so that's people can pretty much discern that that's not real, but they're getting real.
You know what's sad for me is we're going to see the death of UFO photos. Because they were so blurry and so grainy, and you never knew exactly what it was, but it just gave you some sliver of hope there's something out there. But now there's no excuse for these fake UFO photos to be grainy. You can just generate a real UFO in AI and be like, look, I saw one. That's right. So we won't even have that genre anymore.
That's UFOs and the Loch Ness Monster. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Bigfoot.
Yeah.
It's all gone.
Bigfoot. All of it.
The joy of what might be out there in the universe of mysteries is it's over. You just generate and just people will be like, oh, there's Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Let me just jump to a couple of quick comments. One from Lucinda. I hate when I get to the end and I realize it's AI, which is like the example I was just talking about. But also the mermaids chasing the fishermen are on my For You page. I haven't seen that one yet, but now that I've said it out loud, my phone is probably already loading up my algorithm.
Yeah.
And finally from Lisa Leach. Good day, Lisa. You mean it was not real? Next, you'll be saying that there's no such thing as Santa. Nobody tell her.
No, I've seen him. He's in photos. He's in photos all the time.
Yeah, I saw him in the shopping centre. Yeah,
that's right.
You could almost pass for a Santa there, Lucas.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, I know.
Things get rough and AI takes over. You can always switch careers.
I think
pixie photos.
That's right. The pixie photos. They still exist. I remember. I think you're talking about. It might have even been on Lucinda's one where you're going. It's great to have a female on here, not the grey bearded old guy. So I'm sorry, there's another grey bearded old guy.
Yeah, it's a pretty beard heavy podcast. All right. Speaking of podcasting, we should get back to talking about photography. What gear do you shoot with for all of your work?
Yeah, I think like I mentioned before, I'm not a latest and greatest guy, so I have a whole lot of Canon 5Ds that I've been using ever since they came out, and I really, really like them. Yeah, and I've used other mirrorless ones, and they're okay. And I have nothing against them. I just like the clunk of a shutter, and they have a serious clunk.
Same. I miss the good clunk when you're shooting in the crappy electronic shutter modes.
That's right.
of the new stuff. So are we talking like 5D Mark IVs or what?
Threes.
Threes? Oh my gosh. That's
Well, you can pick up a 3 for like $400-500.
Yeah,
like
That's
and that's a full frame 35 mil DSLR.
Pro grade camera,
the autofocus jumped much better going from the 2 to 3. The autofocus was way better,
and then to the 4 as well. But I've just had those, and I'm going, okay, I'll run them into the ground, and I've got a case full of those, and they're really, really good. They're solid. They're rock steady. They very, very rarely let me down.
Yeah.
They are beat to crap, and all of them, no joke, are missing the top dial, the mode dial. All of them are all missing that. I don't know why. It's obviously a design flaw, but it doesn't matter. So I've memorized all the mode clicks on the thing because I can't see it anymore, and they're all beat up. But they're really good. I think that came about when Canon brought out the 5D and offered the video feature on those, and you could get this crazy depth of field on your video, which really wasn't available before, at like an affordable price. You had to buy a really pro-grade cinema camera, but now you could use your 50 mil 1.4 lens, 1.2 lens with this crazy depth of field in a video or making movies that, I think Breaking Bad, I think the first series was all shot on like a 7D. I think, or most of it was shot on a 7D, and I'm going, wow. That's just crazy. That's
amazing, isn't it?
And so that really drew me to that as a video maker as well. And because I go, what is this? And I had another friend that was using it. He goes, you got to try it, and we did. And then I just stuck with them and went through all of them. And I haven't even got a 4 yet. So
wow. So what about for your video work?
No, I've got some other cameras I use for video work. I've got some Sonys, that I use for that. I do use these occasionally, but I kind of there's a lot of limitations around the video work with them because they're still, at the end of the day, they're a hybrid camera when it comes to video work and just connecting mics in, and they can only record for a certain length of time before you have to stop and start and shutter.
That's what I was wondering. I thought you must have had the Magic Lantern software.
The Magic, I do. I do run that as well. Yeah.
And
what's that? What's the Magic Lantern?
It's just like a jailbreak for better video settings, essentially.
Correct.
Really?
Yeah. You
like
download it on firmware. You download it onto your card, and it opens up all these other features. It gave you like audio meters, and it just keeps your shutter rolling the whole time.
Some very, very smart nerds that wanted better video features that obviously saw the potential of that sensor and stuff, and they were like, "Why don't Canon just make this better?" So they did it themselves. It was pretty brilliant. You can still it's still like you can still use that stuff on. If you buy a 5D Mark III now, you could go and get Magic Lantern software and put it on there. I'm sure it's all still up and live and running. And
it is.
So it's quite amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really surprised Canon hasn't tried to take that down. I'm sure other brands have similar kind of things.
Probably have. But I mean, I don't think it's a for-profit company. I think it's more of like an open sourcey kind of.
It is.
So that's cool. That's really cool.
Great resource. There's a whole lot of functions on there, like so many functions that probably most of them you're not going to use, but just good to have.
Yeah, I think it even might have had some photography functions and stuff, maybe like more expanded, like intervalometer sort of stuff and things. I think.
It did have an intervalometer on there, and some other stuff like that. Maybe some more histogrammy stuff. I can't remember. There was a bunch of stuff on there, but they're really good. So, but I need to probably upgrade. I don't hate Mirrorless. I'm a big fan of it, but I just to change the system again. It's like,
that's a big leap. And you're right, especially when you can go from, this camera's, I need to upgrade this. I can pick one up for $400 or $500 versus $4 or $5 grand.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say you could buy 10 5D Mark IIIs for the price of one new mirrorless camera and just be like, well, when they run out, they run out. I'll change over them.
What about lenses? Do you what lenses are you carrying to a typical event?
Depending on the event, but my go-tos are always 70 to 200, 2.8 fixed, and 24 to 70, 2.8 fixed. They're my two go-tos. Then you're like a 16 to 35 wide or a 17 to 40 wide. Depending on those really wide ones are good for the photojournalistic work, particularly the protest stuff. If you're doing a lot of that, it's just good to get when we're not sure what's going to happen and you want to get everything in. And then 50 mil for other portrait work. But generally 70 to 224 to 70 are always there, always on me.
On two bodies?
Two bodies at least, minimum. And because they're not heavy enough, I put a motor drives on them as well, or the grip, because it's just I just like it. It makes them so heavy. But again, I don't care.
It's a workout.
It is a workout, and you can drop them and you can bump them, and particularly with music and protest stuff, there's stuff getting bumped all the time and kicked and beers spilt and blah blah blah. So they're good for those. And then I've got a 150 to 600 Sigma, the big Gigantor. The big one, if you will. Yeah, the big one. That was the longest lens that I could afford without going into stupid money for the stadium shows. So when you go to shoot from the sound desk at the back of the room, I'll take that one. So
nice.
Yeah. So
let's talk about. You mentioned earlier about the shooting documentary, shooting photojournalistic style protests, and on your website there's a range of amazing images from mostly Melbourne protests, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
How did that come about? How did you? I mean, you've said that you've come to the realization that you're actually always documenting. That's just that's your style, is to document. When did moving into that kind of David Dare Parker, Chris Hopkins territory come up for you?
Yeah, I think living in Melbourne, kind of the protest capital of the world, helps with that. When on any given day you can find a protest. I'm just really interested in that human side where what motivates someone to do that thing. I love passion in whatever form it takes, and documenting that passion, and that comes out in a whole lot of different ways. The human condition, all that sort of stuff, trying to capture those moments. And I'm going, there's some really important stuff that's also happening in our city that doesn't get documented or doesn't get documented well. Yep. So trying to document what's happening with no bias is a challenge. And lots of stuff gets documented with major biases. We look at, a lot of the big media company, mainstream media. There's a reason why they're doing stuff. But I'm going, how do I document something without me? Like if I took a photo, you wouldn't know where I stood on that. If there was a divisive topic, hopefully you wouldn't know.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's the challenge.
I wrote notes down about this because I wanted to ask you about this, because we've had various people on the show that do protest photography, and most of the time they do have a political leaning, which I think is totally fine, because it's but I'm very interested in that line between photojournalism and activism, because we all know what you leave in and out of a frame, and how where you position yourself. You are making a choice of how to portray that scene, and I do believe that that's totally fine. It's not it's not like, they're doing it wrong because they showed the bad side of this crowd or something like that. It's just that was what they were there to do, to write an article on whatever. But I did look at your stuff, and I found myself thinking, I wonder what he thinks about this scene. Cool. And that, so to me, that meant you have portrayed that in an unbiased way. And whether or not you have a bias, it seems like you left it out of it.
Yeah. Well, we all do.
Yeah.
I think we all have it. Yeah. Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's got their thing. I think I was driven, and still are, particularly I was standing next to reporters who would blatantly lie about a situation for whatever reason, and I'm going, that's not right, that's not good. Why are you doing that? I'm going, I just want to go, here's what's happening in our city, and getting it out there, and that's the challenge. So but
congratulations, because I think that's the best way I could explain it. Is I was having a hard time thinking, I wonder where he stands on these issues, and that means that you're not portraying it through your imagery, you're just displaying the imagery. Like this image. I don't know where you stand on that point based on this image, but it's a great photo.
Yeah, all protesters need to have a break and have a smoke.
That's right, and I think that's what gives it. I don't know if it gives it like some tension or a bit of like it lets it swirl around in your head. If you're like, are you, what are you saying with this image? And it leaves it up to me to interpret, as opposed to you kind of,
you're right,
putting
Justin.
that on me.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Justin. There's just finding that moment and going, here, do what it with you will. Oh, I get my words around the right way. Do you know what I mean? You interpret it as you will. And not knowing what's going on. That particular one was around our Premier introducing more powers for police, I think, and taxes at the time. I can't remember exactly what that one was from. And CBD. Oh, yeah, that was the day. Yeah, there was multiple protests happening in the city. Yeah, there was. I think that day there was at least 3 happening in the city. Someone told me there was 6. I only got to 3 or 4 of them. But yeah, just finding that moment and just finding those maybe not the really passionate moments sometimes, and just that decisive moment is
So, what do you have any advice for other people that might be covering protests to that? Because again, I don't want to say that anyone should or shouldn't, photograph with a bias or without a bias or whatever. That's their choice to make.
Personal choice, absolutely.
But if they wanted to try and be more objective, do you have any advice on how to get into that mindset and be more objective in a heated situation?
Yeah, it's a challenge because, like you're saying, whatever you frame, wherever you stand, however you edit, even the choice to do black and white or to do color, there's already all those choices already made about stuff. I think getting yourself and trying to go, okay, if I'm a person standing here in this moment with that going on, what am I seeing? What am I just viewing? What am I experiencing? That particular one, the police had blocked a bridge. There was a protest plan to go do something with the bridge, and the riot cops were all there, and they're super intimidating.
Yeah, and they look really intimidating.
They are. That's the idea. They're supposed to be. So trying to go, okay, I'm actually feeling intimidated. I'm standing really close to these, and they had these big armored vans as well. Yeah. And they got weapons and they shoot a whole lot of stuff. And I'm actually feeling pretty intimidated. I'm standing in that sort of no man's land in between a wall of protesters and a wall of police. And I'm going, that's a little scary, because if it all goes pear-shaped, I'm right in the middle of it, and I'm going down. So I think just to kind of find your viewpoint and stick with it, and being a little bit bold and getting into the middle of it. I think it's easy to shoot from the fringes, but you really do need to get into the middle of it and just going, okay. I mean, you need to be, I don't know, you need to assess the situations, and if safety is of a concern to you, then you need to take it in. I don't concern myself too much with it, and I've been very fortunate so far. But there's always the potential for it. But I think most of the time when you got a camera in your hand in these situations, not always, but the police are pretty, they let you kind of just roam around.
Providing they don't see you as any kind of threat or something like that. You found that you're not their concern
mostly
on the day, because they're worried about other things that are happening.
Yeah, I'm not a concern. I'm just there documenting and
Do you think? All right, let's go this direction. Do you think there are ways that you act, dress, or whatever that makes you seem less threatening to either the police or protesters? And is there ways that maybe you see other photographers act and dress where you're like, oh, that's maybe asking for more trouble than you would like?
Yeah. No, look, I have 2 cameras hanging off me, and that's a red flag. There's so much stuff where I've been abused, kicked, punched, spat upon, shot at, all that sort of stuff by police and by protesters, because of the fact they've just had cameras hanging on me. They don't know who I am or what I'm shooting for, but just purely by the fact that you have 2 cameras there. A lot of other press guys will have press, depending on the situation. They'll have press on them, on their front, on their back. Which sometimes helps, sometimes it makes it worse. So, there's, I don't know, there's minimizing. I think we were talking before about compact cameras. Off camera, we're talking about compact cameras. So I'm actually looking at investigating that for this very reason, just to go into a situation where I can just look like a regular punter, not have two massive cameras hanging off me, just a little camera that can fit in my pocket and I can pull it out and get good shots with. So that's probably, if you want to be inconspicuous, that's having two big cameras hanging off you is not the way to go about it.
It's interesting because I wondered whether that was potentially better to be
it can be,
you know, like, so the police look and they're like, okay, he's here to do that. I'm going to take him off my, radar and focus on this. As opposed to when it's a little bit unknown, are you a protester? Are you not a protester? I got this little camera, but so that's what I was interested to know. What it could go both directions.
Yeah. I think generally, I would say 80 to 90% of the time, it's not a problem because the authorities will see you as someone who's neutral, and I try not to abuse that, even if I have a strong opinion about what's going on. You kind of go, I'm going to be partial. The police will often ask you if there's a protest and there's a clear divide, they'll go, whose side are you on? And I'm going, I'm on neither. Is always my response with that, which doesn't help because you can't get anywhere and going, well, that. But through the COVID lockdown, the protests that were happening then, it didn't matter if you were a photographer or not. You were targeted. Everyone was targeted then. And but it was important to document a lot of stuff that was going on in our city then. So, yeah, it depends on the time. Yeah.
What happens to your protest images? What do you do with them?
You try and shop them around. I don't shoot for anyone specifically with those. Sometimes they get picked up. Most people don't really want to touch them because of the nature of them, because sometimes they can be divisive and stuff. Some of the COVID stuff got picked up by the BBC overseas, and they ran with that, going, here's what's happening in Melbourne, because we were, as we all know, we had the worst lockdowns in the world, and there was these really violent protests going on, and there was people getting, all sorts of stuff was happening.
It's horrible.
And that got picked up, particularly when the CFMEU had their protests down here. I don't know if you remember.
Yes. Didn't they camp out on the tram line or something in the middle of the day? Was that part of it?
Yeah. There was all sorts. It was pretty much nail guns versus police guns. That's an analogy, but it felt like that. They had just where the CFMEU is, that intersection down there near the Vic Market. Yeah, that was all blocked. It was a war zone. It was brutal, and they were breaking the windows into the CFMEU. The police were trying to stop it, and it was brutal. But there was an image there of I got of, I don't think it's on the website. I don't know if it's on the Instagram. I don't think it is, but it was 3 or 4 guys in front of this wall of CFMEU protesters kneeling down, holding hands. They sort of their heads down, and took a shot of that and go, that's really interesting. Didn't know what it was. That shot got picked up by the BBC as well, and they ran with that. And what I found out later was 3 or 4 guys just praying. They were from a local church community. They were praying in the midst of all this. It just made for a really interesting shot. Yeah. And the guys that were in it, one of the guys actually saw the shot and he contacted me, and it was kind of cool, and sort of told me that story. That's how I found out, but I didn't realize that at the time. But there's all those sorts of moments that you can find. Yeah, or you just happen to happen.
So you head out to these protests, or AKA a regular day in the city of Melbourne, with the intent to document what's going on, not necessarily with the intent to make money off these prints, or it's all about storytelling for you, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just storytelling what's going on. I think it's easy to forget about what's happening in our city sometimes. And, there was the regular, the Palestinian Gaza war protest that was happening in the city every week for however long it's been, since October 7th. And, that was a regular thing. And I was just trying to document that as well. And just going, here's what's I think it's just trying to be an informative thing. And it's hard to find an avenue to get those out, though. So other than just your regular social media channels. So, I said, most organizations, I should say, really don't kind of go, we don't care.
It's interesting though, isn't it? We a few months ago, Justin and I went to a one-day photography event organized by the guys that do BFOP, the Bright Festival of Photography in the city of Melbourne, and we saw Rennie Ellis's exhibition.
Oh, nice! Yes,
where they basically dug up all of his slides and film and images, and he was protesting fringe protests and fringe events, particularly in queer culture, the hidden queer culture of Melbourne.
Right.
And it didn't seem like he wasn't doing those shots for media either. He was like you. He was documenting what was going on in his world around Paran and Paran and Windsor and St Kilda, especially down that down towards the beach. And I think it's really interesting that often we find these caches of amazing documentary images often well and truly after the fact, and in some cases even after the photographer has passed and someone has found an archive and gone, holy crap, this person documented everything that went on in Melbourne, or whatever it may be. I think it's fascinating when they come across those kind of treasure troves of history, and I think that's where this sort of work is particularly important, about documenting, and I've been saying this a lot lately, documenting what is before it becomes what was.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. It is really important. And there's, I know a bunch of photographers. There's a really good community of photographers that are doing this stuff all the time, as in protest stuff. A really great community of photographers. So it's fascinating. It's important.
I think it is really important, and
especially as you say at a time. Sorry, Justin, when newspapers and media outlets are swaying in one direction or another. And sorry, Jay, I cut you off.
No, that's fine. It's just the more I look through these images, the more I keep coming back to the same thing. I'm blown away that it's not something I've noticed before. But you very rarely would you see someone who does protest photography that has potentially both sides of an issue on their Instagram page. Like often if both sides of the issue are on their Instagram page, the other side will be the worst shots of that group. You know what I mean? And again, it's fine. I haven't seen it before.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
I haven't seen it where you could have shot both sides of a protest, and then not one side hasn't been like, oh, well, this is when this side punched a horse, but then the other side, it's like when they handed out cupcakes, kind of thing. You know what I mean? When you know that both sides had good and bad going on, but they've chosen to show certain elements of it, and which I think leans just that slight step towards being an activist as opposed to a documentary photographer.
That's right. It's a fine line, and that's really good. That's great feedback. Thanks, Justin. It's really, it's really important because I do that, and then I find that really, really hard to do because you're seeing something that's going on, and maybe every fiber within your being is going, I really dislike that. What's happening there? And maybe that's a motivation to help you get some shots. There's been a number of times when I've photographed stuff and I've come home and I'm just going, no, I'm not even going to look at those. I'm just going to download them to the hard drive and just forget about them. Maybe go back to them because I'm just going, I just didn't like what happened today, and I felt like I was one-sided, potentially. It's a challenge. And you kind of go, if I post some stuff around this, is this going to encourage more people to do that stuff as well? Am I glorifying that? I try not to say too much about what's going on. A lot of other photographers, when they post protest stuff, they'll give a highly documented thing. Sometimes I do, but most of the time I just date it. Go, here's Melbourne today on the 20th of November 2025. That's it.
No commentary, no reviews,
just
read into it.
A fact. This date, this time, it was this issue was being protested. Do you ever get any pushback from people, like maybe on social media, they've started following you, and then they're like, hey, why are you posting the opposite to what you did last month? Aren't you on our side anymore? Kind of. You do, really?
All the time. I had someone who was going to report me to the police for something they thought I was doing. The COVID stuff, and when there was the 5K limit and I was in the city, they knew where I lived. We're reporting you to the police, and I'm going, okay, well, I'm working here. Anyway, there was that. Lots of kickback. You get there, lots of hate. But
you do get a bit of hate from why are you posting a picture of that horrible group that doesn't make them look so horrible or something like that, or vice versa.
It can be, you can get. There's lots of stuff, political stuff, particularly stuff around the war in Gaza was, it's a hot topic. It's a hot topic.
It is a very hot topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and that's people can be really mean and grumpy around that. So, but sometimes you turn the comments off. I don't try and delete stuff, but sometimes you just go, "Yep, no, it's not worth it."
Not worth it. Yeah.
And but that's the challenge. The more of the challenge with that stuff has been in person when you've been at something, and often people will think that you're shooting for mainstream media, so you get conflict around that. And physical conflict around that. People, particularly being a bloke, they'll just another bloke will go you, even male or female, they'll go you.
And they make an assumption that you're media that's there to portray them poorly, basically. Yeah, that's right. Side.
Absolutely.
Whichever side they're on, they're like, oh, this guy's trying to make us look bad.
Yeah, and I can understand that, totally understand that, because that's happened. And you see that, and I've worked a lot in Aboriginal communities around the country. So you walk into any Aboriginal community with a camera, straight away there's, dude, but a lot of negativity around that. But I don't mind that. Sometimes you got to be careful it doesn't sit with you for too long. But it happens. It's part of the territory when you're photographing and documenting these divisive topics. That's why they're protesting, because people feel strongly about something, and there's always two sides, generally, sometimes more, but there's always two sides, and people want to respond. Everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah. Well, so whilst I hate violence of any kind, unless it's in the Legend of Zelda video games, that I'm fine with. But I love the fact that in Melbourne or Victoria or Australia, however you want to classify it, that people can do that. They can stand up for what they believe in peacefully. Do you ever get frustrated or angry when you've been at a protest, you've seen what took place, and you know what each side, you've got a fairly good idea of what you witnessed each side do to one another, and then you get the news comes on and you see a very slanted, one-sided view?
All the time.
Does that enrage you?
You were
like calling Channel 7 and going, "Hey,
I was there."
It's absolutely all the time, Greg. It's I think I mentioned before, I'll be standing next to a channel, I won't say, mainstream media reporter, and listening to what they're saying to camera and going, and I'm looking at what they're talking about and going, that's not what's happening here. So it's really I think one of the biggest ones was when the through COVID, when the police were firing upon the public, they were firing 40 millimeter rubber bullets. 40 millimeter, and that's big. And virtually no one believed me. I don't even know if my wife believed me, but I think she did. But we had photos of it, and and this harks back to a little bit about the AI. This is sort of before AI was really kicking in. And people would go, no, they weren't. And I was standing next to a photographer, the cop one, in the abdomen, kidney area, and had all this internal bleeding. And they bounce them off the ground. They fire them into the ground. They bounce off. This one was direct. And I go, so there's lots of angst around that, and I think people didn't really want to believe what was happening at that point. And people were angry that they were angry for a whole lot of reasons. We were locked down and had all this going on, and here were these lunatics in the city doing this from their perspective.
Yes, and so that was the issue, was in this instance. So police brutality, on a different protest, would be like, hey, these guys are the devil. They've done this to this nice, peaceful protest, but because these were portrayed as like the loonies are in the streets protesting, and then they didn't want to portray the police as doing the wrong thing in that instance, and it just so you're seeing, depending on what media channel it is and what their political alignments are, you might see more or less coverage of what the police did or didn't, do, or whatever. Wow,
that's right. Yeah, so you're seeing both sides, and you can, you get to see. You didn't really talk to any police because they don't engage, but you're getting to hear the stories of people that were in there that were just, they had their reasons for doing what they were doing, and there was, whatever you think of that time, they were humans, as are the police as well. Everyone's just human beings with a story to tell, and they have families to go home to, and so once you start to hear the stories, you become sympathetic, and that kind of But then you can become biased then as well. You kind of go, okay, they're sympathetic, so I'm going to get more of what's happening to these guys to try and
yeah.
Kind of go,
They're the underdog. I need to
because at the end of the day, you're
Yeah.
human too. You're just pointing, you're just looking and pointing your camera where it concerns you or interests you or bothers you or whatever it may be. And I think it's hard. I mean, I think humans are all about bias. That's how our brains function. We weigh up two sides. In most situations. And do I run the red light? Do I run the orange light, or do I stop? We're constantly applying bias to what we do. But yeah, I think it's fascinating. Now, there is a conversation that we need to have. We tried to start this conversation before we went live, and Justin shushed us both. Lucas, do you want to ask the question again? Ask some advice.
Well, I've been looking and researching compact Pro digital cameras that I can put in my pocket and take with me that is small and I can whip out. I've been researching and having a look at a bunch, but I thought I'd ask you guys, because this might be your world a little bit more than it's mine, and doing gear reviews and all that sort of stuff. What's a good professional compact camera, potentially fixed lens, that I can put in my pocket and get awesome shots with?
Now, I'm a Fujifilm fanboy, so you'll have to forgive me. My first recommendation would be the Fujifilm X100, either the 4, 5, or 6. The 5 and 6 especially are good because they've got the 40 megapixel sensor. The 6 has IBIS. It has the latest X processor 5HR Pro, I think. Processor. It's quick, it's fast, it's compact, it's discreet. It's a great street photography camera too, but it is a little bit big. No, it's a fixed lens, fixed 23 f2.
Okay.
And I think at version 5 they upgraded the lens a bit. They made it a bit faster on the focus performance. It's a leaf shutter because it's fixed. That would be kind of pro grade output. The next step up from a Fujifilm perspective is the medium format or the larger format version of the X100, which is you can just watch it back later, Lucas. You can just watch it back later. Is the what is it? The GF100, GFX 100 RF. So it's just basically it's a Fuji X100, but it's a medium format or larger format they call it.
But that gets me to the point. I was going to say that gets me to the question of basically the first question is, how big is your pocket? Because that can sway it a little bit as to how, are we talking proper pocketable, like back of the jeans pants pocketable? An overcoat.
I was looking at some like the Sony RX 100 and they're small. And Justin's got one on the shelf maybe.
If you're happy with a fixed focal distance,
not really.
Okay, so
those happy to make that compromise though. I think
great.
And what about the Canon, the GX7? Oh yeah, there you go. There's the
G7. And Lucinda's actually dropped that in the comments saying the Mark III is good. Especially if you like the Canon.
Right.
If you like the Canon ecosystem, then definitely go with that. I mean, it's very different to shooting with the 5D, but you get the color science of Canon.
The 1-inch sensors, though, I was just going to say, so those, the RX 100 and the G7X3, you're talking 1-inch sensors,
sensor.
which is good quality, but you are talking a smaller sensor, which is very different to like the X100 look of an actual APS-C sensor.
Are they still running?
The best choice that I would, the ultimate option I think would be the Ricoh GR, either the 3 or the new 4 when it finally comes out.
Yeah,
the 3 is the 3 is a gorgeous camera. It's every camera has its quirks, but it is a great little truly pocketable point and shoot with great color science. And it's a clever little camera, and the 4 is just being announced a couple of months ago, and as we were talking at the start of the show before we went live, they're not quite in the street yet, but they're literally days or weeks away. But even if you picked up a GR3, you'd get, they're still expensive and they're hard to find new. Even Ricoh have had stock problems for a couple of years now. And there's like 5 different versions maybe 7 different versions of the GR3.
Right.
Because there's two different lens, fixed lens focal distances. There's ones with different filters, and then there's some special diary and street and pocket editions and things like that. But for truly pocketable, that I would certainly look into that.
What's your favorite focal length? Like if you were fixed, if you could just design your own point and shoot, what would it be?
You asking me? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good. Yeah, I would go from something wide with a decent zoom. I really like fixed. I like fixed wide angles as well, from anything like a 24 or 28 or something that translates around that.
Yeah.
So not too distorty, but wide enough to get the stuff in.
Mm-hmm.
I do like having a little bit of zoom though, but I do like fixed. Yeah, and something. But I think for me, low light is something that works well in low light. So something that has a decent aperture and the sensor that's going to do that. I'm yet to find anything that works really well in low light, and I'm so used to the full frame sensors that do work well in low light. Because that's my world most of the time is 0 to no light. So having something that works in low light is I know I'm asking a lot.
I've got bad news for you, but there is one camera that will do that.
Yeah,
the Leica Q3. It's not pocketable though, because it's not that the lens sticks out quite a ways. It's another level again from the X100 in terms of the lens size, but it's f1.7 28 mil, but it's actually slightly wider than 28 mil. It's closer to 26, so it's got a nice wide field of view, and it's full frame sensor that you can shoot in super low light. But it's obviously it's insanely expensive as well. And it's just a long way from being actually pocketable. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not pocketable.
But small enough to just be discreet, I guess. Depending on
put some tape over that red dot, and it's quite discreet.
The other option is to go with something smaller, like a Fuji XM5 or the new XE5 new camera, and just with a compact compact prime on it, but again, not pocketable.
But I mean, not pocketable. So maybe going from a GR. The GR4 is probably the best bet in terms of like it is actually pocketable. The lens retracts. They're quite slim. They weigh 250 grams. It is pocketable. So I feel like Greg's on the money with that. It's either that or maybe one of these one inch sensor cameras if you decide you want a zoom. But otherwise, once you go to the X100 and it's not pocketable, like it's not much of a step to go to that XE5 with a pancake lens.
Yeah, true. And then you've got options.
But then you can invest in a little zoom too, which makes it then not pocketable but still discreet. And you can decide, hang on, am I going to go rock out with a pancake 28 mil lens or put my zoom on?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that flexibility there is great. Yeah. I do like the X100 size. It's a good size. You need a big pocket, but it's still discreet.
And it's a fun camera to shoot with.
Yeah, it really is. I was using one just the other day.
It's like picking up an old 35mm film camera. It just has that feel to it, and that it makes you think differently about how you photograph too, because there are some limitations.
And the image quality won't leave you wanting, whereas it might on a 1 inch sensor. Like those 1 inch sensor sort of smaller cameras are great for what they are, but you're going to look at them compared to full frame images and know what you shot it on. Whereas I think the X100, you could certainly blur those lines with image quality because it's a pretty epic sensor. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I love the Leicas. I was just thinking about that because I do some work with a film company, and one of the guys there, he has a Leica just on him, and he leaves it lying around all the time. And just it's the reporter. What is it? The camo green one.
Wow!
Well, really that's easy to lose. They just blend right in. Chris,
I've told him this. I've given him 2 warnings. So leave it lying around again.
Man, they look good. They look so good.
Yeah, they're really nice camera. I'm really envious of that one. It's a good size too. Yeah.
Well, that seems like your cheapest and best option, really. If we weigh up all of the options, is just to pinch his.
That's right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So Matt, if you're listening, look out.
Yeah, watch out.
Coming
Even
for you.
Lucinda
You've
agrees.
been warned.
Just pocket it.
Yeah.
Lucinda also, I didn't realize this. Girls' jeans don't have pockets. Where do you put your stuff?
They don't. Yeah, often they're just like, if you look at jeans, they're just stitching. You can't actually put anything in them because apparently girls don't need to carry stuff, according to the fashion industry. Yeah, it's a real issue.
Really?
Wow. Yep.
Faux pockets.
Yep.
Wow.
I had no idea.
There you go. No, did I.
Mind blown. Should we have a look at some of your insane live music images before we let you go? Where should we start? Instagram? Website? What do you think?
Go Insta, maybe.
Insta. I want to see some stories. I want to tell us about some of the, or direct me to like just some of the most coolest moments you've had.
Have you got the flaming lips on there? If you keep going down, the flaming lips. They're always there. That one there. With, yep. Just I'm pointing at you. Can't. Yeah, that one there. So,
which one?
To the guy with the grey curly hair.
This guy.
Yeah, that's the one. And then if you just go through to the next, as you can see, he's wearing a harness there. This is their Yoshimi and Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots tour. That was just, I think, was that this year or the last year? I can't remember. Big inflatable robots. If you keep scrolling through that, you can.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's him standing there in between the two inflatable robots. And if you keep going to the right, he has these confetti guns where he was shooting big inflatable balls that were bouncing around the room. I've shot the flaming lips a couple of times and they're fun. I shot them once at Hamer Hall. This one's at Festival Hall, and I haven't been in a war zone to photograph, but I think this is the closest thing to being in a war zone.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
Wow.
They have there's so much going on. Those big inflatable robots, and this one just started inflating in the first song. You didn't know they were there because they were just obviously flat on the floor, and they just started inflating. These got lasers. You got confetti going on. You got these pink balls. Towards the end of the show, the lead singer gets inside a big inflatable ball. You know those big Zorb balls.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
He gets inside one of those and goes out onto the crowd.
Oh, that's awesome.
With his mic inside and bounces and sing. I don't know how he does it. And he's got a harness on there, so he does all sorts of other stuff. And they're insane shows, and there's always a heck of a lot going on, and you get whacked in the head with all sorts of objects flying around, but they're fun.
So, there was actually a question here earlier that I missed. Where is it? From David Mascaro. Question for Lucas. Are you working for a magazine or do you get access as an independent photographer? How does that work?
Yeah, both. I shoot for a handful of publications and sometimes as an independent photographer, depending on the arrangement, or if you've been hired to, or if you have a relationship. So generally you need access either way these days. Mm-hmm. Mostly, not always, but mostly, particularly if you're doing big touring bands that are coming through town, you need access to that. All these ones there, the Schizophonics there. If you go back, that's
which one?
That one there, left.
Left wall?
Yeah,
I don't know who any of these.
That one there. Sorry. That one there. Yep. That's the Schizophonics. That was at the Tote. So this was a really good show. And at the Tote Hotel, if you've ever been, there's a tiny little pub.
Yeah. I've played there.
Oh, have you? Yeah. I love the Tote. And they were just they're a wild band, and he just doesn't stop moving. The lead singer guitarist, he's a bit of an Energizer bunny. He just runs and jumps, and people were putting their glasses down onto the stage, and he would be removing them because he's going, I'm going to break that and cut myself or cut you. So anytime there was a glass on, he would remove it. He's very, very particular. But they're just a husband and wife team, and the drummer and the guitarist, they're husband and wife, I believe. And they just tour around and make for really fun stuff to shoot. That was a good shoot. You could shoot all night there. There was no restrictions. They're a really good band, really friendly bunch of people, and that was just a fun shoot.
Yeah, very nice.
And so, question for you, Lucas: when you are granted access to go to a concert, is there like an agency that does that organizes all that for the photographers, or is that up to you to actually work with the touring company, or is it the venue? Where does that all begin?
Yeah, it's a weird old world, and it's lots of power struggles and everyone wanting to have their says and stuff. But it's done through publications. I don't deal with it too much, thankfully.
Right. Yeah.
Again, depending on the show, sometimes I do deal directly with label managers or PR agents, but generally it's all through the publication. And so they organise all that. They will tell you what the restrictions are, or if they are, or if they aren't, they'll relay them to you. And then hopefully that translates to when you turn up at the venue, and people on the door, people on the box office, security, and the photo pit all get that same message about, how many songs you can shoot, all that sort of stuff. And if there's any restrictions on flash, and generally you can't shoot flash too much these days. Sometimes you can. So there's lots of challenges around that. Last night we're shooting in Festival Hall. It was the first 4 songs instead of the first 3 songs. And I'm going, hopefully that's translating to security. So, because it doesn't always be the case, but it was.
They just try and boot you out after 3 because no one's told them.
That's the standard. Yeah, it doesn't always get communicated down the line. But generally it all works really well. But sometimes you turn up and it hasn't been communicated, and there's nothing you can do about it sometimes. Sometimes you can call people at the last minutes. But so it's all done through them, and it's all funny, some of the restrictions. I shot the Oils on their last tour, and they go, you can only shoot songs 12, 13, and 14. And we were in the middle of the set. They were doing their lengthy sets at that point, and as they were winding up. And so they're going, it's going to be, I know the Oil stuff pretty well, and they're going, it's going to be this song, this song, and this song. And I'm going, so we're trying to remember and trying to count songs, and so that was a bit of a challenge. Some bands will do the last 3 songs. Some of them will let you shoot all night. So there's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
but
lots to coordinate and work with.
What's the deal with? So say you take photos for a bigger band. I'm trying to find one.
Sorry, mate. I'll let you.
Oh no, I was just going to say I was going to try and find one for an example. But if there's any you can direct.
If you just go down, keep going down. That guy in the hat there. Oh, go back up. Sorry, keep going up. On the far left, the guy on the left. Yeah, that one. That's the Brian Jonestown massacre. I don't know if you guys heard. Did you hear about their last show they did here in Melbourne?
No.
No, you may not have. And this was they were playing at the Forum, and it was a really good show until it all went a bit pear-shaped. The singer, before they started, we were just waiting in the pit. There was me and a couple of other photographers there. This guy wanders down into the pit and ended up being the lead singer. And he was coming along, shaking everyone's hand and introducing himself to all the photographers in the pit. Quite, how would you say, not himself affected by some chemicals, I would say, but he was there introducing himself. And again, and then he gets on stage, and then he started berating the guitarist or the drummer, I think it was. So they're playing, and he's just really being nasty to him. And then they started fighting on stage. And these shots were just before this all happened. He dropped his guitar, went over, started whacking the guitar player. The guitar player was hitting him with his guitar. It all went pear-shaped. There's big brawl, security on stage. I didn't realize at the Forum there's a big curtain, like almost a semi-rigid curtain that comes down. That came down. People are all beers are getting thrown. Wow. And it all went really pear-shaped, unfortunately, for that show. So these shots I was able to get before that all happened. They composed themselves enough to get half a dozen songs done before, So if you know that particular band, it's not unusual. Not unusual, unfortunately. Okay. Anyway, it's just unfortunately. Yeah.
Did you see it? Did you see the fight, or did you just hear stories?
No, it was all. I was there. Yeah, I was all there. Wow. And you can go and see it on YouTube. You can go and Google it. There's always someone. There's cameras everywhere, which is really. They're a really great band who I was a fan of, still are a fan of, and it was a little bit disappointing. And anyway, so there's all those sorts of stories. So
I guess that's the hard thing, is they're just people, and they're often some of the wildest, most creative people that have possibly been working to the maybe beyond their point. Like you say, there could be some substance stuff. There's so much to it, and they're on stage so often that maybe it's not always easy to keep it in the background. You know, sometimes it goes public.
Yeah, that's right. And they'd been on tour. They'd done a long tour. They're from the States, so they're a long way from home. And you know, there's lots of challenges.
Maybe someone slept with someone else's girl, or who knows? Who knows what happened?
I'm sure that's the start of many a fight.
What was I going to say? Lucinda had a question here. What's the weirdest rules you've had in a pit?
I'm sure Lucinda's got some weirder ones. That's a very good. Brian Adams, you can only photograph. Maybe I shouldn't have said his name. There's a certain guitarist, singer, songwriter from the States.
I'm pretty sure he watches this podcast.
You can only photograph him from the left side.
Really?
Wow, it's his good side.
Wow.
Well, you would assume so. Yeah. So that was a weird one. That is
weird.
I hope he does that just to fuck with photographers.
I'm
you know,
sure
like he does not care, but he's just like starts thinking of weirder and weirder shit to make them do, and so he can be singing and watching yous all. And then he just purposely, just when he gets set up, he walks across the other side of the stage, and everyone's like, "Oh shit!" And you scuttle across like crabs trying to only stay on one side.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sure it is. I'm sure all this stuff is. It's so much of it is just that. It's just a mess with
boredom.
Boredom. I'm trying to think of any other weird. That was a weird one. The Red Hot Chili Peppers was. You got ushered in. That was a pit shoot, which I thought it might not have been, but it was a pit shoot, and you had a little square that was taped off, which you had to stand in and photograph the whole of your allotted time from that one spot, not deviating from that. And there was a selection. There was a selection of little taped squares across the front, and so there was a bunch of photographers at that. So you had to choose wisely your square.
And that's what you got.
That's what you got. You can't move. That's not unusual. That's kind of. I know Queens of the Stone Age were like that, and a few others that had your allotted spot and you can't move.
Wow, they really don't care about the art of photography, do they?
No, yeah, and I kind of get it to some point. It's annoying and it's frustrating, but it kind of going. They got their own photographers. They have their tour guys, girls that tour with them, and often. Yeah. And
so they see the local people as just a kind of an annoyance, not an annoyance. I can't talk.
Sometimes,
it's like they just get in the way, and we'll get our proper photography from our tour photographer or whatever. And we don't want these people getting in the way.
Yeah, often lighting guys will give you the pretty average light scenes for the first 3 songs. Like it'll be all red, and then all of a sudden, the 4th song comes on when you have to exit the pit, and then you have this amazing light show happen. That's happened a bunch of times, and you kind of go, what's going on here? Was that the way it's? Anyway, it's a good challenge. I love a good challenge like that, so I'm just going, okay, bring it on. And see what we can get out of it.
I often think that you guys, obviously having spoken to Lucinda and Shane, about this craft of yours, this genre of live music photography, I'm thoroughly impressed. I think it's probably one of the trickiest genres to shoot because there's so much going on and so much limitation and challenges that most photographers try to avoid, like lack of lighting, pyrotechnics. What do they call the ring of death that Shane is often?
Like a mosh pit.
Like a mosh pit.
Yeah,
but they do this mad running circle thing.
You can't get out.
And Shane's just and that's to his back. Like you've got this crazy thing going on behind you, and you're trying to focus on an artist in front of you. And I think it's amazing.
Absolutely.
I think it's a really clever genre, and I think you guys should be recognized more for what it is that you actually achieve, because those conditions are tough.
It is good. That reminds me of there was a festival called Gizfest, which was run by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They have their own label, and they have a whole lot of bands on that label, so they would run their own festival, and they would do that at the showgrounds. Unfortunately, it's no longer running, I don't think, but they had Amyl and the Sniffers there very early on in their career, and I hadn't photographed them before. And one of the other photographers that was there had, and he said, if Amy, the lead singer, if she takes a swig of beer, get out of the way. And I'm going, yeah, okay, whatever. Sure enough, she takes a swig of beer, and then she just spits it all over everyone and anyone that's in. And if you've seen Amyl and the Sniffers, you can't. It fits the genre. And so that I learned the hard way with that. I actually have a photo. A friend was in the crowd, and she took a photo at that same moment as I was taking. So I'm taking the photo of Amy spitting the stuff out. She's taking a photo of me taking the photo of Amy spitting the stuff out. So it was really, and she didn't realize that. She saw my photo and she goes, "I got this photo." It was a kind of
that's
nice,
cool.
serendipitous kind of thing. But
Yeah.
I learned the hard way with that particular one.
Wouldn't that be the shot though? That's what I would be running to
it
get.
is.
I would
Well,
want
right.
to be in there, and then you just whip your filter off or swap
That's
lenses or whatever because you're like, well,
Absolutely.
that's done. But yeah,
go
that's the
hard.
shot. Like, get in there.
That's it. Go hard. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But yeah, being covered in beer for the rest of the night is probably not ideal, but it's all part of the show.
That's it.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wonderful. What else did I see here? Oh yeah, Wookie says the Nova Twins wouldn't allow photography of the guitar effects boards. Now that's
Really?
just like, I mean, I could imagine if you're one of the world's greatest, most secretive guitarists, but I mean, like, come on, it's not that. We're past that now. The internet exists. Every guitarist knows what every other guitarist is using on their board. It's not a secret.
That's right.
Calm down. And there's more famous, it's like everyone always tried to sneak photos of Adam Jones's setup from Tool, know, amps and pedal boards and all that sort of stuff because it was this great tone mystery.
Right.
But that's all. We're in the information age now. It's all out.
Well and truly.
Yeah. That's it. I'm sure Lucinda would have some stories as well about those strange requests.
That's another good question. We should have just got Lucinda on to do the show to just
we could have
just chilled, Greg.
Yeah,
is there
that's
an
right.
artist on your bucket list to shoot?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I like a lot of the old blues guys who, unfortunately, a lot of them are passed away now and who don't tour here anymore. These artists that have been so influential in rock and roll and who started, the blues really started it all as far as music goes, as far as rock and roll goes. So the guys like I was saying, B.B. King before, Buddy Guy still comes out here recently. A lot of them have now passed away, unfortunately. So I'm just trying to think who else. I didn't get to do Metallica this time. I'd like to do them. I think they would be fun, but I'd like to do them in a pit shoot.
Yeah,
like everyone would. I'm not sure.
I assume that's one of those ones where it's like, you and 600 other photographers are all like me, and then I assume it's pretty limited and
these are the ones that just come here. I would have liked to have done AC/DC. However, my caveat next to that is I would have liked to have done AC/DC, but probably in about 1978 or 9.
Okay.
With the original members. Anyway, that's just my thing. So maybe some of those big bands, but there's so many great local acts around that
fun to shoot
as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Have you spent much time, like, have you traveled to the US and been to like Nashville and Memphis and stuff like that? I've blown away. So I've been to Nashville, Memphis, and Austin. Yeah. And it is shocking to me that I can walk into almost any venue on any random Tuesday and see musicians of a caliber that you just struggle to come across in Australia. And obviously just because those are just meccas of music production and where you build your career and all that sort of stuff. So it's drawing talent in from all over the place. Yeah. It's insane.
I love that part of the state so much, the South particularly. I shot Jazz Fest in New Orleans a couple of years back, and a Jazz Fest goes across 2 weekends, and then in between those 2 weekends, you have a whole lot of just stuff happening in the French Quarter and all throughout New Orleans, and that's a really amazing festival to shoot. That's all depends on what you like shooting, but that was fun. That was fun.
a publication from Australia help you arrange the access there, or is that how that worked? Yeah, okay, yeah. So you were heading over with it predetermined that you'd be able to shoot, and
Yep, they were really cool though. Otherwise, they kind of go, and if you don't get access, still come and shoot anyway. As in, you can just shoot from the crowd if you want to anyway. If you don't get access, all that sort of stuff, and you can use the media tent and all that sort of stuff. And that was just a really cool environment to be in, and sort of all through the South there. Nashville's such a really interesting town as well. Memphis is a really interesting town. I love that. Memphis was a bit of a strange town. It felt a little bit dead to me, but it's a beautiful, there's a lot of history there. And but Nashville's Nashville. Yeah, all that south there. I actually did the trip from New Orleans up Highway 61. So all the old blues guys used to travel from the south, would go up Highway 61 up to Chicago, and sort of transit through there. Bob Dylan's got an album called Highway 61, and there's all the little juke joints along the way, and you can pull into these little juke joints, and it's a little bit weird as a white guy, and I'm really white, to go into these juke joints where they have, you stand out like a sore thumb, but they're just beautiful, and there's all this unreal music, and these guys who are unreal, who you never heard of before, they've been playing for 50 years, and
that's just a great that's what was insane is that level of talent just at the most random places, not at the big popular. I mean, the big popular places obviously had, like I went to BB King's Blues Club and all these touristy, more touristy kind of places, and they got great musos, but then you just walk into some just side street bar, and went to one in Austin. There was like the band was playing just in a tiny little sort of outdoor stage, and the singer was just walking around the crowd, just kind of having a good time to himself. And it was one of the best bands I've ever seen in my life. I have no idea what they were called. I sat there and just watched them for like 2 hours. It was insane, and it was just free. Like it was just a pub. You did like
And Austin's such a music town as well. Yeah.
It's so cool.
Beautiful part of the world. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I was interested to know if you'd. So you've had the pleasure of traveling and shooting professionally in some of those locations. That's amazing.
Yeah, only down in New Orleans. And I obviously got the camera with me all the time. But I'd like to go back there. I want to do that again. It's a big expense. But hey, it's only money, right?
It's just the dollar and everything at the moment. It is like a hamburger over there is like 50 Australian dollars now. It's pretty painful.
Yeah, that's it. And you got to be careful and around those places. But I said, I love New Orleans and Baton Rouge and all the way down, all that swamp country down there. It's just awesome. I think I could live there, but I haven't lived there, so I'll put an asterisk next to that. But as far as music goes, and the music history, and so much of what we listen to is all birthed there, and it's just so photogenic everywhere you go, I reckon. So it's a cool place.
David Mascaro says Jessica Lange put out a photo book called Highway 61.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, love her work. Love her work. Yeah, absolutely.
Very
all
cool.
That sort of Americana type stuff is great. Yeah,
very cool. What else?
Well, I think we've already been going for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Holy moly.
But there's a couple of essential things that we like to always ask a guest. Do you want to ask the question, Jay?
End of the world. Zombies taking over. You're at a shoot. You're at a giant festival. All the people are zombies. Metallica are now zombies. And you don't have time to grab your backpack because they wouldn't let you in with your whole backpack. You've only got time to grab one camera and one lens. Mm-hmm. Could be from any time in your life, or a camera you don't even have yet. What would you grab to photograph the end of the world?
Oh, wow. I love my 70 to 200, as long as it's not too close.
Yeah. Well, it's probably good.
You don't want them too close.
Yeah, you don't want
That's
them too
true.
close.
I've actually done a course in how to survive the zombie apocalypse. You actually can do a course. A friend and I did this, so I'm prepared.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you do this course? Where is this course? I want to do it.
I knew you were going to ask me that. I can't remember off the tip. I have the certificate to prove that I've actually done it, so you can actually do it. So it goes through. It's full on serious course, and you can do it. You come and get an accreditation. It's only short. It's only like 6 weeks or something like that. And
what?
you get a certificate, and it tells you. Anyway, I digress. So I am prepared.
Wow.
And was okay. Was there any one thing you learned in that course that you were like, okay, this is useful information. I'm actually going to remember this. This is good.
Yeah, you have to go for the brain if you're going to kill a zombie.
Okay.
Which maybe that's already common knowledge, but I learned that, and so got to kill the brain or the head.
And someone's making money off running a course on.
Well, I've just Googled it. I've just Googled it, and it's come up with the Flinders University handbook with zombie apocalypse. I'm like, I don't know what this
sounds familiar. It was a long time ago that I did it.
Like it says, unit value 4.5.
Yeah.
Adelaide has been invaded by zombies, and most of the population is. I don't know if it's just like a it's for a different course, and they've just used it as a thing.
This was an American one that I did.
Okay.
Maybe they're based it on that, but
wow,
it was at the height of when The Walking Dead was out, and that was sort of, anyway. A friend and I did it.
That's
a friend and I did it for a laugh. But it was.
You're the first guest who's actually ever done a course on that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Do you put that on your resume?
No,
is that something? No,
only by request if you want that one. Probably the first guest and the last guest too.
Possibly until I find it and I do it.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else we have to find out, Greg, before we go?
No, I think we're good. I think we've covered most of it. And I do like the 70 to 200, especially on an EF mount, because that's a heavy lens. You could use it as a heavy lens. You could go for the brain.
Yes.
I think it's a fair call for that. And your 5D, I mean, you can replace those pretty quick, even if you're
that's right.
I have one question before we go. So you obviously love black and white. Based on your Instagram.
Yeah,
but most of what you post is black and white. If there's color, it's usually hidden by a black and white photo first. Yeah,
true.
I love the way that you process your black and whites. I love the contrast.
Cool.
I think it looks fantastic.
Cool. Thank you.
How are you processing them? What's your workflow for getting these black and white tones that look so amazing?
That's interesting. It's a really interesting question. I think that it stems from my learning how to do black and white prints. Actual black and white prints back in the darkroom back in the day when. My lecturer, who I mentioned, Susan, she would go, you need to get a true black, you need to get a true white. And that's kind of stuck with me. And that's just a subjective thing. So I always try and go, is there a true black and is there a true white? So like trying to make sure that, I know you're going to show some shots now. Hopefully I'm doing what I'm saying there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I think. I think I noticed that it's so punchy and so much contrast because you are finding that black point.
So that was something that's always stuck with me from that. So the processing that's my rule of thumb. So it's a pretty simple process, just converting to black and white, and then just usually crushing the blacks pretty hard, and maybe a little bit of clarity in there, and sometimes bringing the highlights down because they can blow the highlights out a little bit then as well. But that's pretty simple. Pretty simple. There's no real secret to it. So that's just my rule of thumb. And that's just a creative choice. Everyone's different on those sorts of things. But just trying to get things so they're not too muddy, I guess. I like a lot of clarity and definition from the tones.
Yeah.
And
especially if you've got a busy scene. Like this.
Yeah, like that one.
Exactly. Processing in Lightroom usually, or?
Nice. Pretty much all the time, Lightroom. And Lightroom, maybe a little bit of Photoshop, but not much because Photoshop hurts my head after a while. Lightroom, I just love the fact that Lightroom's been designed for photographers, and it's got its limitations, but it's really good for processing this sort of stuff and batch processing and cataloging, and it's just easy and it makes sense to me. And you don't have to do a massive degree in how to use it, unlike Photoshop.
It's intuitive.
It is. It is intuitive. It feels like I'm just using a camera at some point to just keep processing stuff. So now love black and white. I think that's where it stems from.
I love it. Well, we've barely even scratched the surface of your catalog of live music and protest and everything else, images that you do. So if people want to see more, they should go to Lucas Packett Photography, separated by dots. So at lucas.packett.photography at Instagram. Or www.lucaspacketphotography.com, both of which will be linked in the show notes below. Anywhere else people should keep an eye on your stuff?
That's probably the best places. I do shoot for a bunch of publications, but they're probably the best ones to go to. I try and put most stuff up. My Insta as well. There is a Facebook page as well, but if people still use Facebook, it's on there as well. So
Yeah, they'll find you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, cool.
Very cool. Well, look, on that note, Lucas, thank you so much for sharing a couple of hours of your time and talking through your
been great.
Fascinating career. And I think what stands out for me is that despite there being a diversity of genres, you have a very defined style that you apply to all of your images and compositions especially. And I think that's a true testament to the skill that you carry with you. When you can shoot anything from a concert to a portrait to a protest, and there is a very defined style in the way in which you tell stories. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's been inspirational for me. I'm always consider myself an aspiring street documentary photographer, and there's always lots to learn from our peers. So thank you very much for sharing all of that with us.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Justin. It's really been great. It's great to just chat with like-minded people. That's fun.
Yeah, that's what we do.
That's why we do.
That's why we love it.
Absolutely.
But look, on that note, everybody, this has been the Camera Life podcast. It has been episode 135. It's the 20th of November, and this has been brought to you by Lucky Straps. Head to luckystraps.com. We have a sale going, although it's probably over now.
Look, I'll leave it running for another hour. So if it's not too late. Well, 45 minutes. You'll be right.
Yep. Yeah,
jump
so
on
you've
there.
got 45 minutes. Get in there. But yeah, thanks once again, guys, and thanks you to everyone in the chat. We're going to roll credit, and we're going to say goodbye to some folks. But thanks again, Lucas.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. Thanks, Shane Henderson, Wookie. Very cool.
Yeah, thanks, Shane.
David Mascaro, always promoting the Nikons, always. Yeah. He does great work with them. But we're Canon people here. Robert Varner, good to see you. Philip Johnson, Lucinda, of course. Who else was around today? I've got to go way back. Paul, he had to run early. I think Lisa Leach had to go early. Rodney Nicholson was here. Everybody was here. It was a great day. And we'll catch you all on the next one.
Yeah. See you guys.